Chapter 2231. The Despair of the Galaxy. Chapter 2231. The Despair of the Galaxy. They were well aware of the strange young man's combat strength. He was a very good Heaven's Pride expert in the Heaven realm. His combat strength was far above Luo Kangqiang's, and he was not much weaker than the Star River. But now, he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. Wasn't Lu Ming's combat strength even stronger than the current galaxy? Didn't Lu Ming have a crippled body? If he could not become a martial emperor, how could his combat strength increase so quickly? They couldn't figure it out. All they could think of now was to run. The Star River and Luo Zhangqiang retreated at almost the same time. Seeing that you can't win, you want to run, have you asked me? He. Lu Ming sneered. He took a step forward and caught up with Luo Zhangqiang in an instant like a ray of light. Luo Kangqiang's eyes were filled with fear. The unfamiliar young man's combat strength was above his, but he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. If Lu Ming wanted to kill him, he would not need a second move. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my grandfather will never let you off. Luo Zhangqiang roared. Your grandfather? He already attacked me in the primordial realm. Unfortunately, he's seriously injured now, and one don't know where he's gone to recuperate. I'll personally take his head one day. Lu Ming sneered. He had to kill Luo Zhangqiang. Back then, it was because of Luo Zhangqiang that Qiuyu had fallen into a desperate situation and almost couldn't wake up. Later on, Luo Kangqiang's grandfather, Emperor Tianluo, met up with the emperor of the Mu family and went to the ancient moon sanctuary to kill him. It could be said that he, the Daluo Heaven sect, and the Luo family had long been mortal enemies. Even if Luo Zhangqiang didn't come to him, he would go to him. Since he had met him today, he would not let him go. Impossible. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, Luo Zhangqiang roared in disbelief. Have a safe trip. Lu Ming spoke indifferently and pointed his finger. Without any suspense, Luo Kangqiang's glabella was pierced through by the finger force. His soul was destroyed and he died on the spot. At this point, the two king physiques of the Daluo Heaven sect had been killed by Lu Ming. After killing Luo Zhangqiang, Lu Ming chased after him in the Star River. At this moment, the galaxy used all its strength and flew at high speed. He had a feeling that if he did not leave today, he would not be able to leave. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded his imagination. However, he still had hope. Lu Ming had a crippled body and could never become a martial emperor. Even if he could improve his combat strength, there was a limit. He, on the other hand, could continue to improve. He did not believe that he would not be able to kill Lu Ming after he broke through to the true emperor realm. As long as he was alive, he would be able to kill Lu Ming. So he used all his strength to run for his life. But when he looked back, he was scared out of his wits. It was because Lu Ming was not far away from him. Hengxing River, go down and accompany Luo Zhangqiang, so that he won't be lonely. Lu Ming said coldly. He displayed his six-feathered divine wings, and his speed was extremely shocking. With a flap of his transparent wings, he approached the eternal Star River. Kill! The galaxy stopped and shouted. An eternal god clock appeared and vibrated. Now the cultivation base of the galaxy was much stronger than before. It had reached the three-star Void Emperor realm, the second realm of the eternal law, and it had also mastered a king path law. Hence, the power of the eternal god Bell was many times stronger than it had been in the past. Layers of sound waves rushed out and turned into sharp swords, slashing at Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying. This move again. Star River, this move is useless against me. Lu Ming spoke indifferently and struck out with his palm. Boom! The void exploded, and the terrifying palm force rushed toward the Star River like a mountain. The sharp swords formed by the sound waves of the eternal god Bell exploded and collapsed one after another. The power of the palm did not stop. It surged towards the stellar river and bombarded the eternal god Bell. Thump! The eternal god Bell trembled violently and cracks appeared on it. Xing's body was sent flying like a cannonball, and he coughed up blood in the air. How is that possible? The galaxy roared in disbelief. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? In the 5 years he had been in the Heaven realm, the eternal Star River had obtained a large amount of resources. There were even some great figures who valued him and took him in as a disciple. He was a heavenly emperor. After being a disciple of the heavenly emperor and being nurtured by the heavenly emperor, he had made great progress in all aspects. His combat strength had also soared. But even so, after 5 years, he was even more vulnerable when he met Lu Ming again. He found it hard to accept. These people are so weak. They came to kill Lu Ming? Dandan pursed her lips, feeling speechless. He's completely courting death. Guangzhong was also speechless. Meanwhile, the surrounding onlookers were also in a heated discussion. Who is that person? What powerful combat strength? I heard them talking about a peerless cripple. What's that about? I don't know. No. I heard that the primordial realm produced a peerless cripple who has yet to become a sovereign. But he has already mastered many nomological laws. Even 2 of the strongest nomological laws. What? He can control 2 types of ultimate laws? The scene was in an uproar. Many people exclaimed, but even more people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that anyone could master 2 ultimate maxims. It was impossible. No one had ever done it in history. In the sky, Lu Ming did not stop and continued to charge toward the galaxy. Casting the 6-feathered divine wings, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a flash of his wings, he crossed the void and caught up with the eternal star river in an instant. Thump! Lu Ming struck out with his palm again, and it hit the eternal god bell in the galaxy. This time, the eternal god clock that covered Xing's body exploded. Xing's body emitted the sound of bones breaking. His body was sent flying, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Lu Ming had not used his full strength. His palm only contained 4 types of laws: chaos law, devour law, penetration law, and extreme law. In the past few years, Lu Ming had improved too much. After refining a trace of energy from the ancestral dragon blood, his physical strength had increased greatly. At the same time, the law of alchemy, the law of craftsmanship, and the law of penetration were perfected one after another. Lu Ming's body and saint energy had improved a lot after tempering his body and saint energy. The strength of the galaxy was not weaker than Lan Yin and Yin Shi, whom Lu Ming had encountered 3 years ago. At that time, Lu Ming would need to use all his strength to fight against experts like Lan Yun or Yin Shi. But now, Lu Ming had also used 4 types of laws. He had not even used his ultimate move, and he could already achieve a crushing defeat. He could completely crush them. Let's go! Lu Ming chased after the galaxy. The stellar river erupted in a frenzy as it tried its best to escape. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My master is the celestial Arch. At the same time, Xing Chen roared and brought up his master, hoping that Lu Ming would have some reservations. However, he knew very well that Lu Ming was a lawless person. He could not be intimidated. As expected, Lu Ming was unmoved and continued to chase after him. The eternal star river revealed a look of despair. Lu Ming, stop. At this moment, a furious roar was heard. Then, a terrifying fist force blasted toward Lu Ming from the sky. Chapter 2232. Chapter 2231. Endless Enemies. Chapter 2232. Chapter 2231. Endless Enemies. Initially, Lu Ming had wanted to completely kill the Hengxing River and get rid of this trouble. However, at this moment, a fist force crossed the void and headed towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely shocking. The laws of chaos. Lu Ming could sense the fluctuation of the chaos laws in the fist force. Without thinking, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. Boom! Lu Ming's palm and the fist force collided heavily. The void exploded and trembled continuously. A strong wind swept in all directions. Xingxing River's body trembled and was swept away by the aftershock. He spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the sky. A burly figure stepped through the air and looked down at Lu Ming. Yuan Xian. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. It was a coincidence that he met old acquaintances from the primordial realm today. The laws of chaos. That's Yuan Xian, the son of chaos from the primordial realm. I've heard of him before. He's very talented. After coming to the heaven realm, he was immediately accepted as a disciple by a top master. He received a lot of resources and made rapid progress. Some time ago, he defeated several famous Heaven's Pride experts in the Heaven realm. I've also heard of him. This person's talent is indeed amazing. He has the potential to compete with the Ninju in the future. This time, the primordial realm has indeed produced many people with shocking talent. Besides Yuan Xian, there's one more person who's even more terrifying. He was born to be the son of fate, and can control the nomological laws of fate. There are also a few paragons from the archaic system, who are also extremely terrifying. Clearly, 5 years had passed, and the prodigies who had come to the primordial realm were all rising rapidly. They had made a name for themselves in the Heaven realm, and were known by many experts in the Heaven realm. Yuan Xin's eyes glowed as he looked down at Lu Ming. A strong fighting spirit emanated from his body. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to come to the Heaven realm. Although you can't become a divine emperor, your combat strength has reached this level. It's really shocking, but this is good. I'll feel more when I kill you. As she spoke, Yuan Xin's eyes revealed a hint of ferocity. Do you remember what one said to you in the Ten Lands battle? If you are defeated by me once, you will never be my opponent. Lu Ming spoke indifferently, his voice filled with disdain. You're talking big. A cripple can never become a saint emperor. Where did you get your confidence from? Die! Yuan Xian shouted coldly as a shocking aura erupted from his body. A 4-star illusionary emperor. This was Yuan Xin's current cultivation. A 4-star void emperor was already a high-level void emperor, which was much stronger than a 3-star void emperor. The powerful power of the world was surging, and the power of nomological laws surrounded Yuan Xian, making her look like a god of war. 3 types of laws, the laws of chaos. He's already at the 2nd realm. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had a rough estimate of Yuan Xin's combat strength. Do you still have confidence now? Yuan Xian said, full of confidence. To him, meeting Lu Ming today was great news. During the Battle of the Ten Lands, he had been defeated by Tianming, and Lu Ming one after another. He was still brooding over it. Today, he could defeat Lu Ming. Another day, he would defeat Tianming. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was the #1 Heaven's favorite in Yuan continent. In the future, he would defeat the strongest Heaven's favorite in the Heaven realm, and stand at the peak. This was his ambition. Lu Ming, he's ours. At this moment a cold voice sounded. In the distance, a few rainbow lights flew over at high speed. The next moment, a few figures appeared in the sky. The powerful aura and cold killing intent were not concealed at all as they pressed toward Lu Ming. Lan Yun Yin Shi. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. It seemed that he had met a few old acquaintances. They were Lan Yin and Yin Shi. When the two of them looked at Lu Ming, their gazes were particularly cold. Lu Ming, I'll kill you today. Lan Yin coldly spoke. Back then, he was so badly abused by Dandan because of Lu Ming. Later on, he did not get the treasure because Lu Ming stopped him. Then, the two of them glanced at Dandan and Mulan. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent and of course greed. They recognized Mulan. Back then, there was a small pagoda above Mulan's head. It was definitely a supreme treasure. Today, since he had met her, he would take her together. They were overjoyed. This wasn't a battlefield, so there weren't many rules. It was normal to kill each other. You guys, surround those people. Lan Yun shouted and waved his hand. Following behind Lan Yun and Yin Shi were a few middle-aged men. At this moment, their figures flashed and they surrounded Dandan, Mulan and Guangzhong. These middle-aged men were all at the true emperor realm. Their terrifying aura made Mulan and Gu Yingzhong's expression turn serious. However, their faces darkened and their eyes flickered with an ominous light. Lu Ming, I'll see who can save you today. Lan Yun and Yin's eyes figures flashed, and they surrounded Lu Ming. Haha, Lu Ming, it seems that you have offended many people. Yuan Xian sneered. A bunch of clowns. Lu Ming said indifferently. What did you just say? You're looking for death. Lan Yun shouted, his aura even colder. After a few years, Lan Yun and Yin Shi had undoubtedly become stronger. Their cultivations had both reached the level of 4-star Void Emperor, and their nomological laws had also improved. On the surface, they did not seem to be weaker than Yuan Xian. The three young experts had Lu Ming surrounded. This trash from the primordial realm has actually offended so many people? He's too overconfident. He's just a cripple who can never become a saint emperor. How dare he be so arrogant? Isn't he courting death? I heard that he's very famous in the Yuan continent. He was the first among the younger generation in the Yuan continent. That's normal. He's not a saint emperor yet, but he's already mastered so many laws. His combat power must be very strong. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the potential to become a saint emperor. I think he's used to being arrogant, so he doesn't recognize his own situation. The others can keep improving, but he's still so arrogant. He doesn't have much time left. He's probably going to die today. Some people discussed and felt that Lu Ming would definitely die today. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and Yuan Xian were all much stronger than Xing Chen. Now that the three of them were clearly going against Lu Ming, did he still have a chance? Brother Lu Ming. At this moment a joyful voice was heard. The voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. Then, there was a flash in the void, and a figure suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming did not avoid it, because he knew who it was the moment he heard the voice. Bubbles. Bubble. Lu Ming called out, a smile on his face. It seemed that Bubbles had arrived as well. It had been 5 years since they last met. But Bubbles was still the same as before. She did not grow much older, and still looked like she was 2 or 3 years old. Brother Lu Ming. The bubble hung on Lu Ming's neck, and its small head rubbed against Lu Ming's body. It was reluctant to let go. Yuan Xin's eyes turned grim when she saw Bubbles approaching. Bubbles was a space-time spirit mouse. Ever since she came to the heaven realm, she had been placed in an important position and was greatly nurtured. Her cultivation base had improved even more rapidly, and her current strength was no weaker than his. Chapter 2233. All of you can come together. Chapter 2233. All of you can come together after a long while. Bubbles raised her head and looked at Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yin Shi. What are these guys trying to do? You're asking for a beating. Pow Pow pouted as she looked at Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and the rest unkindly. It's her. That space-time spirit mouse. Lan Yun and Yin Shi had also recognized Bubbles. A young top 10 war beast was too rare, and its talent was astonishing. Bubbles' arrival had caused a stir back then. Many people knew that a space-time spirit mouse had come from the primordial realm. Furthermore, the moment he arrived, he was taken in as a disciple by a terrifying god beast and was taught with great care. He improved at an amazing speed, and his battle strength was even stronger. During this period of time, many heaven's favorites have lost to her. Lan Yun and Yin Shi naturally knew about it as well. At the same time, they were also rather afraid of the existence behind Bubbles. They did not expect Lu Ming to know Bubbles, and that they seemed to be on good terms. Hey, tell me, are you the ones who want to go against Brother Lu Ming? If you want to make a move, you'll have to get past me first. Bubbles waved her little fists and glanced at Lan Yun and Yin Shi. This is none of your business. Lan Yun coldly spoke. Who says it's not related? Pow Pow glared at Lan Yun. You'd better stay out of this. The Lan family might not be afraid of the person behind you. Lan Yun spoke again. Nonsense, if you want to fight then fight, chirp chirp. Paoba was enraged and was about to attack. Bubble, I can handle these people myself. Lu Ming smiled and stopped Bubbles. Oh okay. Brother Lu Ming, beat them up for me, chirpy. Bubbles shouted. Then, she turned her gaze and saw Dandan. Her big eyes immediately lit up, and with a move, she immediately appeared on Dandan's shoulder. Little turtle, long time no see, chirpy. Pow Pow blinked her large eyes as she sized up Dandan. Although Dandan had transformed into a human, and had even used a mysterious technique to conceal her aura, Bubbles and Dandan were both top 10 war beasts, and had extremely sharp senses. Bubbles recognized Dandan with a single glance. Dandan's face turned even darker. You're the little turtle. Your entire family are little turtles. Dandan said unhappily. You're clearly the little turtle, aren't you? Chirp chirp. Pow Pow pouted and said. Don't compare me to an ordinary little turtle. Dandan said angrily as she and Bubbles stared at each other and bickered. Lu Ming smiled and glanced at Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and Yuan Xian. He said indifferently. Since you all want to kill me, then come at me together. Don't waste time. His words shocked everyone present. What? This cripple actually asked Lan Yin and the others to attack him together. Is he crazy? Although his combat strength is not bad, he's simply courting death by being so arrogant. The others were shocked, and the faces of Lan Yin and the others became even gloomier. Lu Ming wanted to fight the three of them alone. He was simply courting death. This was an insult to them. I alone am enough to deal with you. Lan Yin made the first move. He shot out a punch, and a lion's roar reverberated through the firmament. On his fist, there was a lion jumping and roaring, its power shocking. This was a mystical ability passed down in Lan Yin's family, and it came from an ancient scripture. Compared to 3 years ago, Lan Yin was undoubtedly more powerful. Not only did he have a breakthrough in cultivation, but his nomological laws were also more profound. He had already comprehended a third type of nomological law, and had reached the stage of the first realm perfection. With a punch, the lion's roar shook the sky and the wind howled, crushing toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He simply struck out with his palm. Lu Ming still only used the chaos law, the extremity law, the engulfing law, and the penetration law in this palm. However, Lu Ming's physical body trembled, and an even stronger force erupted. Boom! Lu Ming's palm collided with Lan Yin's fist, and a shocking tremor erupted. Then Lan Yin retreated rapidly. The lion on his fist let out a wail and exploded. Bang! 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 Lan Yin retreated a few dozen steps, his eyes revealing shock and disbelief. Lu Ming had actually forced him back with one palm. How was this possible? 3 years ago, Lu Ming's abilities were only slightly stronger than his. After 3 years, his combat strength had increased tremendously. Why was he forced to retreat by Lu Ming's palm? Didn't Lu Ming have a crippled body? He could not become an emperor. Why did his strength progress so shockingly? He really could not figure it out. The others couldn't figure it out either, and they all opened their mouths wide. Yuan Xin's pupils also constricted, and her heart trembled. I've said it before. The three of you should come at me together. Don't waste my time, Lu Ming said, his voice spreading far and wide. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and Yuan Xin's faces turned ugly. At this moment, he didn't know whether to retreat or fight. If you guys aren't going to do it, I'll do it. Lu Ming was extremely powerful. He stepped into the air and attacked. Boom! 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 He struck out 3 palm strikes in a row. 3 powerful palm prints whizzed out and headed toward Yuan Xan, Lan Yun, and Yin Shi respectively. Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's attack together. Yin Shi shouted. He made his move. A saber appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming. Roar! Lan Yin attacked as well. His fists were constantly blasting out, and there was a lion jumping on both fists, constantly roaring. The power was extremely shocking. At the same time, Yuan Xian made his move as well. He used all his strength and waved his fists. He condensed a mountain with all his strength and charged at Lu Ming. Yuan Xian had undoubtedly become stronger. During the Battle of the Ten Lands, he had only mastered a single law superpower technique. Now he had mastered a higher level superpower technique. Every attack had the explosion of several laws, with chaos laws as the core, and its power was shocking. The three of them joined forces, and the void was boiling. They were completely destroyed. Boom! 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 Their attacks collided with Lu Ming's palm print. The void rumbled continuously, and the force swept in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators were forced to retreat. However, what was shocking was that after the collision, Lu Ming's body did not move at all. He stood in the void, and his expression was very calm. He was fighting 1 against 3, and he didn't feel like he was at a disadvantage at all. Impossible! Yuan Xian bellowed in her heart. The power of the world erupted in full force, and mountains crushed toward Lu Ming, trying to crush him into pieces. At the same time, Lan Yun and Yin Shi roared as they charged toward Lu Ming. It's nothing more than this, Lu Ming said. This time he pointed 3 fingers in a row. This was the Chaos Finger Tribulation, but its power had far exceeded that of the Chaos Ring. Because of this finger, Lu Ming had fused 5 types of laws: Chaos laws, Devour laws, Extremity laws, penetration laws, and array Dao laws. In the Gu family, Lu Ming often sparred with Dandan. Dandan's understanding and application of the law had reached an unimaginable level. Lu Ming had also benefited a lot. His application of the law was far superior to Yuan Xian and the others. The power of the convergence of 5 laws was astonishing. 5 huge fingers surrounded by 5 colors shot toward Yuan Xian and the other 2. Chapter 2234, Crushing. Chapter 2234. Crushing. The 3 huge fingers glowed with 5 different colors and filled the sky. It was as if a god had extended 3 fingers. This time, Lu Ming used 5 types of laws. There was one more than the previous one, and it was more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 fingers collided with the attacks of Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yanxi. The mountain formed by Yuan Xian shook violently, and then exploded. Lan Yun had used his divine power to form a giant lion. It wailed and exploded. Yanzai's blade light shattered. The terrifying power surged towards the 3 of them, and they retreated. Their bodies trembled as if they had been electrocuted, and blood spurted out of their mouths. With the addition of a law, Lu Ming's attack power was greatly increased. He injured Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yanxi in one move. The surrounding spectators were dumbfounded. He could not believe what he was seeing. Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yanxi had all become 4-star Void Emperors. They were all high-level Void Emperors. Furthermore, they were all top talents, and their combat strength could not be measured by their cultivation. However, the 3 of them had surrounded Lu Ming and were injured by him in one move. How was this possible? Lu Ming had not become an emperor yet. He was not an emperor to be yet, but he could cross so many levels of cultivation and suppress the 3 top heavens favorites. Everyone felt like they were going crazy, because this had broken common sense and had never happened before. Even geniuses like Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yanxi were suppressed by Lu Ming. If an ordinary Void Emperor went up, he would be killed by Lu Ming in seconds. Wouldn't Lu Ming be able to suppress ordinary 5-star, or even 6-star illusionary emperors? This was simply too crazy. However, this was still far from Lu Ming's strongest combat power. If they knew that Lu Ming had still kept a large amount of combat power, they would definitely be shocked. Lu Ming could not be bothered with what the others thought. At this moment, he continued to attack Yuan Xian and the other 2. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming continued to point his fingers at the 3 of them. The 3 of them bellowed in anger and unleashed all their strength to attack Lu Ming. It could be seen that Yuan Xian was indeed stronger, and her combat strength was above Lan Yun and Yanxi. Her injuries were also lighter. However, it was not much stronger, and was still crushed by Lu Ming. With 3 loud bangs, the 3 of them were forced back and spat out blood. Kill! Lu Ming shouted, and activated his 6-feathered divine wings. In a flash, he appeared before Lan Yun. Lan Yun was greatly alarmed. His entire body emitted light, and an enormous lion pounced out. However, Lu Ming's palm was covered with 5 different radiances as it clashed with the giant lion's palm. The giant lion's palm was shattered immediately, and the palm continued to hit the giant lion's head. The giant lion's huge body exploded inch by inch and finally exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming's palm did not stop and continued to slap Lan Yun's body. Lan Yun let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was pierced through. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body flew out like a broken sandbag. Young master! Damn it! The true emperors who had surrounded Dandan and Mulan immediately roared in anger and wanted to save Lan Yun. You can come and go as you please, have you asked this lord? Dandan said coldly. Then, he moved like a bolt of lightning and charged at the true emperors. With a wave of Dandan's hand, 9 colors emanated from her body. That was the eruption of 9 types of nomological laws at the same time. Furthermore, all 9 types of nomological laws were at the 2nd level. Some had even reached the 3rd level. The true emperors were shocked. Dandan's combat power made their hearts tremble. There were a total of 5 true emperors, and the highest one had even reached the level of a 5-star true emperor. The true emperors attacked at the same time and charged toward Dandan. There were a few true emperors who had extremely shocking battle power and profound mastery of their laws. However, they were still lacking compared to Dandan. Dandan was fighting 1 against 5, but she was not at a disadvantage at all. She even had the upper hand. This shocked the others. They had never expected that this ordinary-looking young Taoist would be so strong. Not only had his cultivation reached the true emperor level, but his combat strength was also ridiculously strong. It was obvious that the cultivation base that Dandan revealed was only that of a 1-star true emperor. However, his battle prowess was shockingly high. Even a 5-star true emperor wasn't his match and was suppressed by him. His nomological laws are too terrifying. A 1-star true emperor has already cultivated 9 types of nomological laws to such a realm. It's incredible. Some of the older generation sighed. For a void emperor or a true emperor, the deciding factor of one's combat power was the laws. Although cultivation could also affect one's combat power, it was not as significant as nomological laws. This was especially true for those at the true emperor realm. The number of nomological laws they controlled and the strength of their mastery would greatly affect their combat power. Many people might not be able to cultivate nomological laws to such a level even after cultivating for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. This was talent. The true emperors of the Lan family and Yin family were being held back by Dandan and couldn't be rescued. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he appeared beside Yin Shi again. He struck a palm, and Yin Shi followed in Lan Yun's footsteps, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. "You want to kill me? Today I'll kill you all," Lu Ming said coldly, his voice icy. He knew that the Lan family and the Yin family were both powerful families in the heaven realm. They had deep foundations and definitely had a celestial emperor. If he killed Lan Yun and Yin Shi, he would be in big trouble. However, the other party had tried to kill him time and time again, which made Lu Ming want to kill them. If worst came to worst, he would just kill them and find a place to hide, or go to the Gu family to cultivate in seclusion. Although Lan Yun and Yin Shi were seriously injured, they were not dead yet. At this moment, they were so frightened that they were trembling all over. They used all the strength in their bodies and retreated frantically. At the same time he shouted, "Come and save me. Junior, you dare." With a loud roar, a burly old man rushed out of the crowd, picked up a giant hammer, and smashed it toward Lu Ming. True emperor. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He did not dare to take it head-on. His 6-feathered divine wings flashed, and he dodged the hammer's attack. "Kill him! Kill him!" Lan Yun recognized that it was an expert from the Yin family and immediately shouted, "Kill!" The burly old man held a giant hammer and charged at Lu Ming, wanting to kill him. "You're a true emperor, yet you're attacking a quasi-emperor. You're so fucking shameless. I'll be your opponent." Dandan roared and struck out a few times in succession. His attack method was very special. All the laws were transformed into runes, which could then condense into all kinds of terrifying attacks with shocking power. Bang! Bang! The 2 true emperors in front of Dandan immediately spat out mouthfuls of blood and retreated rapidly. Dandan, on the other hand, charged towards the burly old man. "So what if you have a giant hammer? Look at my hammer smash!" Dandan shouted, raised her fist, and smashed it towards the other party. As his fist smashed down, cymbals filled the air, and a huge hammer even larger than his opponent's took shape. It smashed down with a loud bang. Thump! The 2 big hammers collided and the void trembled. The burly old man's body shook violently, and his arm exploded. He spat out blood and retreated. Save the young master. The true emperors who had besieged Dandan previously finally broke free and rushed towards Lan Yun and Yin Shi. Chapter 2235. Chapter 2234. Intervention of Experts. Chapter 2235. Chapter 2234. Intervention of Experts. The true emperors of the Lan family and Yin family, who had besieged Dandan, finally seized the opportunity. Their figures flickered and appeared beside Lan Yun and Yin Shi. Their world energy rolled up and swept the 2 of them away. They didn't dare to stop. Many people were dumbfounded. Lan Yun and Yin Shi had come in a strong manner, and even brought true Emperor Realm experts to kill Lu Ming. In the end, they had to flee in a sorry state. The true Emperor Realm experts were too fast. They were far away in an instant, and Lu Ming could not catch up. Lu Ming's gaze was cast in another direction. There, Yuan Xian was also running at full speed with the Star River, not daring to stop at all. Oomph! Lu Ming snorted coldly and spread his six-feathered divine wings. With a flap, he chased after Yuan Xian at an extreme speed. How could Yuan Xin's speed be compared to Lu Ming's? Lu Ming caught up with him very quickly. Damn it! Yuan Xian roared angrily, and the galaxy revealed a look of fear. Lu Ming was determined to kill them. Kill! Lu Ming said coldly and pointed his finger. A huge finger shot towards Yuan Xian. Primal Chaos Body. Chaotic Divine Body. Yuan Xian roared and used his Chaotic Divine Body. His current Chaotic Divine Body was very different from before. It had been improved and could fuse with many nomological laws, making it shockingly powerful. Boom! He swung his fists continuously, trying to block Lu Ming's attacks. However, the three of them were not Lu Ming's match previously. He was far behind by himself. The huge finger pressed down, crushing Yuan Xin's fist force as easily as breaking dry weeds. Yuan Xin's body trembled violently, and she retreated frantically, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. The Star River was also swept away by the aftershock and was sent flying, causing his injuries to worsen. Lu Ming, my master is the Celestial Varch, Xingchen roared. He was really afraid that he would be killed by Lu Ming here. Is there any point in revealing the person behind this? Lu Ming sneered and strode forward, wanting to be the first to kill Hung Xinghe. Xing Chun endured his injuries, unwilling to be killed just like that, and retreated. Boom! However, Lu Ming did not give him the chance. He pointed his finger, and a sharp finger force pierced through the void, and shot toward Xing Chen's glabella. No! Xing Chen roared because he couldn't block it at all. He was going to be killed by this move. At this moment, a beam of light suddenly appeared in front of him. This ray of light was like a shield. Lu Ming's finger force bombarded it, but it had no effect at all. Boom! Then from a distance a large hand reached out. The hand was huge and fast. The aura it gave off was terrifying. Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming was shocked. This huge hand exuded the pressure of the heavenly Tao. It was unbelievably powerful. Master! Xing Chen shouted in excitement. His master had also come to Yaoguang Ancient City, and he knew that he would be fine. However, the huge hand did not attack Lu Ming and the rest. It grabbed the Hungxing River in Yuan Xian, then retreated rapidly and disappeared. The surrounding people all let out a long breath. The Celestial Emperor's pressure was too strong. Even from a distance, a large hand could make people feel like a mountain was pressing down on them. On the other side of Yaoguang Ancient City, in a luxurious and huge courtyard, the figures of Hung Xinghe and Yuan Xian appeared. In front of them was a gray-robed old man, who stood with his hands behind his back. Thank you for saving me, master. Xinghe quickly expressed his thanks. Many thanks, senior. Yuan Xian also bowed. The gray-robed elder nodded. Master, you should have killed Lu Ming. He's so arrogant that he doesn't even care about you. The Eternal Star River Channel wanted to persuade the old man to kill Lu Ming. Shut up! The old man shouted coldly, his eyes emitting a shocking light. The cold aura caused Hang Xing's heart to tremble, and he broke out in a cold sweat. I'm a martial sovereign, but am no match for an emperor-to-be and was seriously injured. I'm already thick-skinned enough to save him. You want me, a heavenly sovereign, to kill a junior just because my disciple is no match for him? What would others think of me? The gray-robed elder said, his eyes growing colder and colder. Xing's face turned pale, and cold sweat broke out on his face. Yuan Xian, on the other hand, lowered her head and did not dare to speak. Although they were all top-tier heaven's favorites, they were nothing in front of the heavenly emperor. They might not even be able to step into the heavenly emperor realm in the future. Any heavenly emperor was an outstanding talent. When they were young, they were no worse than them. Therefore, they didn't have any pride in front of the heavenly emperor. Also, do you think that the other celestial thearchs won't care if I kill Lu Ming? The heavenly realm is currently facing a great enemy, So there are some rules. Do you understand? The gray-robed elder continued. This disciple is wrong. Xinghe nodded repeatedly. The grudges between the two of you will have to be settled by yourselves. After this matter at Mount Eternal is over, go back and cultivate in seclusion. Don't come out until you break through the true emperor realm. The gray-robed elder instructed. Yes, Xinghe nodded, and at the same time, his eyes flashed with a cold light. Lu Ming, I'll definitely kill you with my own hands in the future. One don't believe that your combat strength will keep increasing, even if you can't become a martial emperor. The galaxy roared in its heart. A cold light flashed in Yuan Xin's eyes. She had the same thought as the Hengxing River. In the future, he would personally cut off Lu Ming's head and take the chaos scripture. The chaos scripture is mine. Yuan Xian roared in her heart. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body is mine. The galaxy gritted its teeth. On the other side, Lu Ming also sighed. This time, he could have killed Yuan Xian and Hengxing River. But it was a pity that Hengxing River's master was in Yaoguang Ancient City, and all his efforts had failed. Lu Ming could also guess that the Heavenly Emperor would not be so shameless as to deal with him, a quasi-emperor. It's okay. As long as you become an emperor, dealing with these small fries will be a piece of cake. Dandan walked over and said with a smile. He knew very well that Lu Ming could comprehend many types of laws, and even many types of ultimate laws, before he became a great emperor. Once he became a great emperor, there would be shocking changes. Good fight chirping. The bubble jumped from Dandan's shoulder to Lu Ming's. It hung on Lu Ming's body and rubbed against him. Let's continue shopping. Lu Ming smiled. The group started to stroll around the Yaoguang Ancient City again. At the same time, Lu Ming learned from Bubbles that Long Chun, Ouyang Wushuang, and the rest were still in closed-door cultivation and had not come. After this battle, Lu Ming's name had spread far and wide. Before becoming a sovereign, he had already mastered many laws. It was said that he had mastered different ultimate laws and defeated Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yin Shi. Such combat strength was shocking. In the past, Lu Ming's name had only spread among a small group of paragons. Now many people knew about him. However, there were also many people who did not believe it. With a skeptical attitude, they thought that it was too fake to control different ultimate maxims. They did not believe it. Since ancient times, no one had been able to control two different ultimate maxims. This had been regarded as the truth. How could they believe that a person who had not become a great emperor could control different ultimate maxims? Even those who had seen Lu Ming's moves were skeptical. This was because when Lu Ming was fighting with Lan Yun, Yuan Xian, and the rest, he had only used chaos laws and not any other ultimate laws. Chapter 2236, Chapter 2236, Harsh Conditions. Chapter 2236. Chapter 2236 Harsh Conditions. Lu Ming's name became a topic of conversation for many people who were waiting for Mount Eternal to have free time. The following days were rather peaceful. Lu Ming and the rest stayed at their residence and cultivated in seclusion. As time passed, the number of people in Yaoguang Ancient City increased. Almost every day, there were people trying to climb Mount Eternal. There were martial artists of all levels, from martial saints to celestial emperors, but no one was able to climb Mount Eternal. Everyone could only wait patiently. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. On this day, Mount Eternal suddenly gave off multicolored light. At the same time, a bell rang throughout Yaoguang Ancient City. Everyone was alarmed and flew out of their residences. There's movement in Mount Eternal. Don't tell me we can enter. Let's go and take a look. Countless people flew into the sky and headed for Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the rest also woke up from their cultivation. They followed the Gu family master and the rest and flew towards Mount Eternal. For a moment, Mount Eternal was surrounded by a sea of people. No one knew how many people there were. The temptation of the indestructible ancient scroll was too strong. With the indestructible ancient scroll, it was almost equivalent to being undying. As long as he didn't turn into ashes, he could recover from any serious injuries. This was equivalent to having many more lives. With the indestructible ancient scroll, One could venture into many dangerous forbidden lands, obtain treasures, and quickly improve their cultivation. Who wouldn't be tempted by such an ancient scroll? Didn't he see that many heavenly emperors had rushed over? Even the heavenly emperors couldn't remain calm. Countless people gathered around Mount Eternal, waiting nervously. At this moment, a figure appeared in Mount Eternal. A burly figure slowly walked out from the depths of Mount Eternal. Many people couldn't help but widen their eyes. There's someone in Mount Eternal. Could it be that the immortal venerable sovereign didn't die? That's impossible. Many people were shocked and skeptical. Soon, a tall figure appeared in front of everyone. It was a middle-aged man. No, it's a puppet. A heavenly emperor powerhouse spoke up and saw through the situation. The middle-aged man was a puppet. So it's a puppet. It must have been left behind by the undying emperor. Many people's hearts moved, and their eyes gathered on the puppet. The middle-aged man like puppet spoke, his voice loud and clear, spreading in all directions. By the will of the undying heavenly emperor, the undying ancient scroll will be born and reappeared in the world. His words made everyone's heart beat faster, and their eyes lit up. The indestructible ancient scroll was really about to be born. Many people's eyes were burning with passion. However, the undying heavenly emperor has ordered that those who wish to obtain the indestructible ancient scroll must go through a test. The middle-aged puppet continued. May I ask, what kind of test do one need to go through? A heavenly emperor expert asked. It's very simple. First, let's start with the celestial emperor. Those who become a celestial emperor within 10,000 years, please enter Mount Eternal and pass the test. Then, you can obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. You don't have to try to deceive me. I have my own way of knowing if you have broken through to the heavenly emperor realm within 10,000 years. The golem said, What? How is it possible to become a heavenly emperor in 10,000 years? Immediately, those heavenly emperor-level figures could not remain calm. The others were also tongue-tied. To become a heavenly emperor within 10,000 years was too difficult. After reaching the martial emperor realm, it would be extremely difficult to improve. For those who lacked talent, a single closed-door cultivation could last more than 10,000 years. For some people, it might take more than 10,000 years to advance a small realm. It might even take tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. To become a heavenly emperor within 10,000 years, the conditions were too harsh. It seems that there isn't. The middle-aged puppet sighed. Aren't these conditions a little too harsh? Some heavenly emperors were unwilling to accept this. This is the rule set by the venerable sovereign. I have no right to change it. The middle-aged puppet said. The heavenly emperor sighed, and were extremely unwilling. It was a pity that no one had met the conditions. Since there's no one else, let's go down. Those who break through to Great Emperor within 1,000 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. 1,000 years to become a Great Emperor? The faces of the Great Emperor realm experts also turned pale. Becoming a Great Emperor in 1,000 years wasn't as difficult as becoming a heavenly emperor in 10,000 years. However, it was still extremely difficult in essence. The great emperors looked at each other before shaking their heads. No one could meet the conditions. You don't have any? Then let's continue. Those who become true emperors in 100 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. 100 years to become a true emperor? Ha ha, wasn't this tailor-made for me? I'm here. Dandan grinned and laughed, extremely excited. In a sense, Dandan had already been reborn. This life was a new one. He had indeed stepped into the true emperor realm within 100 years. Other than Dandan, there were also some other people who flew into the sky. There were more than 10 people. There were quite a few of them who became true emperors in 100 years. The 9 absolutes of the younger generation all broke through to the true emperor realm within 100 years. There are also some other heaven's favorites who are almost 100 years old. Look, there are at least 7 of the 9 unique youths. Someone cried out in alarm. Lu Ming focused his gaze. Indeed, among the dozen people, there were some who looked particularly young. They seemed to be in their 20s. There were both men and women. There were also a few others who looked to be in their 30s. These people had all become true emperors within 100 years. Lu Ming had previously learned that the 9 unique youths were the 9 most outstanding talents among the younger generation in the Heaven Realm. Each of these 9 people had entered the true Emperor realm. Countless people looked at him with envy. Being able to take the test at Mount Eternal meant that there was a chance of obtaining the indestructible ancient scroll. More than a dozen people flew towards Mount Eternal. When they got close to Mount Eternal, the middle-aged puppet waved his hand, and a door of light appeared in the sky. "You guys can go in," the middle-aged puppet said. Immediately, the dozen of them rushed into the light door and disappeared. "The assessment will take some time. Let's wait." The middle-aged puppet sat down cross-legged and closed its eyes to rest. The others quietly waited for them to wake up. But more than 10 days had passed, and the people who had entered still had not come out. Lu Ming took out a monarch weapon and sat cross-legged on it. He closed his eyes to comprehend the laws. Now he was only left with the life law. He had yet to reach the first stage of perfection. As long as his life law reached the first stage of perfection, he could start to break through to the martial emperor realm. Therefore he had to seize the time. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. At this moment, there was finally some movement from Mount Eternal. Mount Eternal glowed. With a slight shake, a dozen figures appeared outside Mount Eternal. They were the dozen people who had entered Mount Eternal. Everyone's eyes were on them, full of anticipation. Had any of these people obtained the indestructible ancient scroll? However, all of them were dejected and unwilling to give up. "How is it? What's the situation inside?" Many people began to ask. Dandan also flew back. Chapter 2237. Chapter 2237. Entering Mount Eternal. Chapter 2237. Chapter 2237. Entering Mount Eternal. Dandan, what's the situation inside? Did you get the indestructible ancient scroll? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. "Don't ask me, one wants some time alone." Dandan pulled a long face, extremely depressed and unwilling. "This guy must have failed." Chirp chirp. Paoba mocked. "Nonsense, how could one have failed? I'm telling you, I'm the only one who succeeded. But that old man, the undying venerable emperor, is vengeful and refuses to pass the indestructible ancient scroll to me. I'm not willing to accept this. That old man is vengeful and narrow-minded." Dandan shouted as if she had gone mad. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Gu Ingchong and the rest widened their eyes. Did Dandan really succeed? He passed the test. He couldn't be bragging, right? On the side, the others naturally also heard Dandan's words, but they all cast contemptuous looks at Dandan. If he didn't pass, then so be it. But he was still bragging, as if he knew the undying venerable sovereign. No one believed Dandan's words. Why didn't the undying venerable sovereign teach you the indestructible ancient scroll? Lu Ming asked. He really believed that Dandan had passed the assessment. Dandan was one of the top 10 war beasts, the world turtle. Her previous memories had been completely restored, and her combat strength was shockingly high. If even Dandan couldn't pass the test, then no one could. That guy is narrow-minded and narrow-minded. One only took something from him in the past. Is there a need to hold a grudge until now? Dandan was very unhappy and gritted her teeth. You took something? Lu Ming understood. This guy definitely took more than a few things. He must have offended the undying Supreme Emperor in the past. Around them, the others were even more disdainful. This guy was speaking as if he was speaking the truth. Wait, Lu Ming suddenly thought of something and sent a voice transmission to Dandan. According to what you're saying, could it be that the immortal venerable sovereign is still alive? She's dead. She's dead. It's only my guess that he holds a grudge. Otherwise, why didn't he give me the indestructible ancient scroll? Dandan pouted and huffed angrily. Dandan, what's the content of the assessment inside? Lu Ming asked. No one has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Now those who have become saint emperors before the age of 50 will enter the examination. Hurry up, the middle-aged puppet urged, as if it didn't want the people who had entered before to reveal too much of the situation inside. Those who became a saint emperor before the age of 50, the eyes of Guingzhong, Mulan, and the others all lit up. Let's go, the lone shadow repeated. At this moment, there were already many figures flying towards Mount Eternal. Becoming a saint emperor before 50, one haven't, so one can't go in? No, let's go and try. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He did not think much and flew over as well. There were a lot of people who became emperors before the age of 50, more than 1,000 of them. In the past, during the Ten Lands battle, there were 1 to 200 people in the primordial realm who became emperors before the age of 50. As for the heaven realm, whether it was the cultivation environment or the cultivation resources, it was better than the primordial realm. The inheritance was more complete, and it had been more than 5 years since the Battle of the Ten Lands. Naturally, there were more people who had become emperors. Therefore, there were a lot of people in the heaven realm who became emperors at the age of 50. This was only a portion of them. There were definitely more people who hadn't come yet, or there would be even more. In the crowd, Lu Ming saw Heng Xinghe and Yuan Xian, as well as Lan Yun, Yin Shi and the rest. They also saw Lu Ming. Senior, this person hasn't become a saint emperor yet. He wants to fish in troubled waters and sneak in. Lan Yun suddenly called out to the middle-aged puppet. There was a gloominess in Lu Ming's eyes. The middle-aged puppet looked at Lu Ming with a sharp gaze, as if he wanted to see through Lu Ming. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, Heng Xinghe and the others sneered. How was it possible for Lu Ming to sneak in? He would definitely be punished by the middle-aged puppet. At this moment, the middle-aged puppet's eyes revealed a look of surprise. It seemed to be very surprised, and then it nodded. His situation is special. He can go in. Ah, Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and the others were dumbfounded. Detestable. Then they gritted their teeth. These idiots, chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out, gloating over her misfortune. Lan Yun and the others had unsightly expressions as they gloomily charged into the door of light. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Mulan, Guangchong and the rest also entered the light door one after another. The next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared on a platform. At this moment, there were at least 100 people gathered on the platform. In front of the platform, there was a wide road that slanted upwards. Is this place inside Mount Eternal? Does this road lead to the top of the mountain? Lu Ming pondered. Then he turned to look in another direction. He discovered that there were a total of 9 platforms. And in the middle of the platforms was a pitch-black abyss, separated from each other. Each platform had a wide path that slanted upwards. 9 platforms, 9 paths. On each platform, there were more than 100 or 1,000 people, divided equally among the 9 platforms. Bubbles, Mulan, and Guangchong were all on Lu Ming's platform. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It looked exactly like the middle-aged puppet from before, but it was clearly just an illusion. For the first test, you'll pass as long as you walk to the end of this road. Let's go. The figure spoke, and then disappeared. Buzz! Whoosh! Immediately, some people rushed up the road and ran forward, afraid that they would be one step slower, and someone else would beat them to it. Boom! Boom! However, just as these people were rushing on the road, there was a rumbling sound. Above the road, bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air, and kept striking towards them. Bang! Some people couldn't resist it, and retreated while coughing blood. Someone blocked the lightning, and continued to move upwards. However, the lightning continued to strike towards the crowd. This path is indeed not that simple. Let's go up, Lu Ming said, and the few of them rushed on the road. This road looked very old, but it was very wide. Hundreds of people could walk side by side without any problem. When they stepped onto the ancient road, bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air, and struck towards them. Lu Ming waved his hand, and dispersed the lightning that was striking him. The power of this lightning is very weak. Lu Ming was surprised to find that the lightning that struck him was not powerful at all. He had blocked it easily. At the same time, Bubbles, Guangchong, Mulan, and the rest had all blocked the lightning. That's not right. It seems that people of different cultivation bases face different levels of lightning. This test is based on cultivation. Lu Ming discovered the secret. It was obvious that those with higher cultivation levels did not have any advantage here. The test here would eliminate one's cultivation base and adjust the power of the lightning. It was impossible to pass by relying on cultivation. One had to rely on talent and combat power that was beyond one's level. It was no wonder that the lightning that struck Lu Ming was not powerful. Lu Ming's cultivation level was not high to begin with. Lu Ming and the rest stepped forward. They were very relaxed at the beginning. Chapter 2238. Chapter 2238. Stepping on the Ancient Road. Chapter 2238. Chapter 2238. Stepping on the Ancient Road. Lu Ming was naturally very relaxed. The lightning here did not pose any pressure to him. As for Bubbles, she was a space-time spirit mouse, so she naturally did not feel any pressure. Guangzhong was a top-tier heaven's favorite, so he didn't feel any pressure either. Mulan had inherited the legacy of a peerless powerhouse. Her battle prowess was also very strong, and she also advanced with ease. However, the others were not as relaxed. Many people vomited blood from being struck by the lightning, and their bodies were charred black. They had no choice but to retreat to the platform. Some people were unwilling to give up. They wanted to step on the air and rush up, but they realized that it was impossible. A powerful force was suppressing them, making them unable to fly. Many people had no choice but to stop, knowing that they had no fate with the indestructible ancient scroll. Some of the stronger heaven's favorites continued to advance, especially those who could control multiple laws, and even an ultimate law. Their speed was extremely fast, and they kept rising. The four of them, Lu Ming and Pao Pao, moved forward at a uniform speed. The higher they went, the more powerful the lightning became. Sila. Lightning streaked across the sky, striking at Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming's body was surrounded by laws, and he had set up a defense. The lightning could not break through his defense at all. Pao Pao and the rest followed Lu Ming, and kept moving forward. "Oh, arg!" A young man cried out, as he was charred black by the lightning, and his body almost cracked. He cried out as he was sent flying and crashed onto the stage, but he did not die. In this place at most he would be severely injured. He would not die. Every time they advanced, there would be people who would be blasted down. No one knew how long this ancient path was. Lu Ming and the rest walked for 3 days, during which they were constantly struck by lightning. 3 days later, at least half of the people were eliminated. After 3 days of walking, the lightning finally stopped. However, before they could celebrate, the temperature on the ancient road dropped sharply as they continued to move forward. An endless chill drilled into their bodies, trying to freeze them. As they continued to move forward, the coldness decreased even more, and the temperature dropped to a shocking level. Someone couldn't resist it. His entire body was frozen and turned into an ice sculpture. Then with a bang, the frozen person was thrown out. He was probably thrown off the platform. A cold wind blew over, and it was bone-chilling. There were even snowflakes falling from the sky. "Oh!" A young man screamed as he was almost cut in half by a snowflake. He spat out blood, and was sent flying. These snowflakes were even sharper than the heavenly blade. Every piece of the void was a great killing weapon. Everyone focused their attention to block. All kinds of attacks were constantly blasted out, colliding with the snowflakes and producing clanging sounds. Some people couldn't resist and were blown down, while others carried the snowflakes and continued forward. The further they went, the more concentrated the snowflakes became. In the end, the sky was filled with snow, and the power was extremely shocking. Buzz! Whoosh! The snowflakes landed on Lu Ming's defense law. They were like extremely sharp weapons, cutting at Lu Ming's defense law, and producing the sound of metal clashing. At the same time, there was a bone-chilling cold that wanted to rush into Lu Ming's body, but he blocked it with the power of law. There were fewer and fewer people who could reach this point. Lu Ming discovered that the situation of the other 8 ancient roads was exactly the same as them. The tests they had experienced were also the same. Just like that, a few more days passed. They crossed the land of ice, but what they faced was a land of flames. In front of him, the flames were burning fiercely, and the power was shocking. Every time he passed a region, the test he faced in the next region would be stronger. At this point, Mulan began to struggle. After all, she had just become a saint emperor. Her comprehension of the laws was slightly weaker, and it was already a bit forced. As they continued to move forward, Mulan's face started to turn pale. Senior sister Mulan, If you can't withstand it, don't force yourself. Lu Ming said. I'm fine, I can still hold on. Mulan stubbornly raised her head and continued to walk forward. After a few more days, they crossed the area and arrived at a place with strong winds. The endless wind was like countless sharp weapons, cutting them with even more terrifying power. At this point, Lu Ming had to be serious. Mulan, on the other hand, was finally unable to withstand the attack. With a muffled groan, she retreated. The violent wind cut a few wounds on her body, causing blood to flow out. Senior sister Mulan, don't force yourself, Lu Ming shouted. They could not help each other here. They could only rely on themselves. Mulan gritted her teeth and sighed in the end. She took a step forward and leaped backward. This was equivalent to admitting defeat. A force appeared out of thin air and pulled on Mulan, and her figure disappeared. Lu Ming bubbles, and the lonely shadow continued to move forward. This road was very long, as if there was no end. The few of them continued forward and experienced all sorts of trials. There were places filled with poison, places filled with curses, and also mountains of blades and seas of swords. After nearly a month, Guangchong finally couldn't resist and was sent flying. Only a few people were left on this road. It was the same for the other lanes. There were not many people left. For example, Lan Yun and Yen Shi had been eliminated. However, Lu Ming saw that Yuan Xian and Tianming were still persevering. After a few days, there were only 3 people left on Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and an extremely beautiful woman. This woman's talent was also astonishingly high. She had mastered more laws than Gu Ingchong, and her maturity was even more profound, which was why she could reach this point. The other 8 paths were about the same. There were only a few people left in each path. The road has reached its end. Suddenly, the beautiful woman's eyes lit up. There was no path ahead. The ancient path had already come to an end. Lu Ming's face also revealed a look of joy. At this moment, a figure reappeared. Congratulations on passing the first test. Next, it's time for the second test. With that, the ancient road in front of Lu Ming, and the rest suddenly wriggled. Then 3 platforms appeared. 3, 1 for each person. It was the same for the other ancient roads. The number of people would determine the number of platforms. Choose a platform at will, and place your palm on it. The figure said. Lu Ming and the rest went forward and randomly chose a platform. They then placed their palms on the platform. The platform was smooth and cold to the touch. Buzz! When their palms touched the platform emitted an infinite amount of light. Countless runes appeared on it, following Lu Ming's palms and enveloping their bodies. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming felt that the world was spinning. The surrounding environment had changed. He had arrived in a void. In the void, there were rays of light shining. Then, a ray of light suddenly rushed toward Lu Ming like a sharp sword. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly released his holy power, controlled the law, and slapped out. Boom! The ray of light was sent flying by Lu Ming's palm. Chapter 2239. Chapter 2238. Life Law Breakthrough. Chapter 2239. Chapter 2238. Life Law Breakthrough. A ray of light flew towards Lu Ming, but was sent flying by his palm. However, the light did not dissipate. After being sent flying, it floated in the distance, and the light became even more dazzling. This is the power of laws, and the laws of chaos. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Whoosh! The ray of light that contained the laws of chaos moved again. Like a flying sword, it crossed the void and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming controlled the power of law, and was about to counterattack when he was shocked. This was because other than this beam of light, there were other beams of light that were rushing toward Lu Ming. Each ray of light was like a sword light, extremely powerful. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. The sword of death condensed in his hand, and circulated the holy power to the extreme, slashing 9 times in an instant. Clang! 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 The sword of death collided with the 9 types of light like battle swords. Sparks flew everywhere, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The 9 beams of light were sent flying by Lu Ming. 9 types of nomological laws, corresponding to my nomological laws. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He could tell that the 9 lights represented 9 types of laws, which were exactly the same as the 9 types of laws that Lu Ming controlled. 9 beams of light floated in the distance, and the light grew brighter and brighter. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, the 9 beams of light moved again. Their speed was even more shocking than before. They attacked Lu Ming from 9 different directions. Lu Ming was highly focused. He used all 9 types of laws and surrounded himself. At the same time, the Sword of Death contained 7 types of laws. Buzz! First of all, there was a sword gleam that was aimed at Lu Ming from behind. It was a sword gleam formed by the penetrating law. Its speed was so fast that it was beyond human reaction. Lu Ming bellowed and slashed backward, blocking the sword light. However, in other directions, the sword light formed by the laws had arrived. It was like a stream of light, and its speed was extremely fast. Lu Ming cast his 6-feathered divine wings, and dodged with all his might. At the same time, he continued to slash out in the midst of death, sending out dense sword light that densely covered the surroundings. Even so, the sword gleam formed by the law still missed, and broke through Lu Ming's defense, leaving a sword wound on his body. Blood flowed out, and half of Lu Ming's body was numb. Lu Ming quickly circulated the life law and finally sealed the wound. It also recovered quickly. However, the attacks of the nomological sword lights were far from over. That was only the beginning. Whoosh! Whoosh! Beams of light crisscrossed. 9 types of dazzling law lights continuously charged at Lu Ming. Their speed became faster and faster. They could even develop sword moves on their own. And their power was even more shocking. Lu Ming tried his best to block and dodge, but he could not completely block it. There were many wounds on his body. This won't do. My attack is too scattered. One can't block it completely like this. One have to spread out the laws. Lu Ming's mind whirred. Then he had an idea. The 9 types of laws that he controlled scattered and flew out separately. They turned into 9 rays of light, and flew toward the sword gleam formed by the 9 laws. However, Lu Ming was controlling 9 types of laws at the same time, and his speed was obviously much slower than his opponent. Not only did he fail to block the attack, but he also caused himself to be attacked by even more nomological sword gleams. Lu Ming could only use the 6-feathered divine wings to dodge, but he was still cut by a few sword radiances and bled. This method is correct. I'm too unfamiliar with controlling the laws, and am not familiar with it. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to block it. Lu Ming dodged quickly while he continued to control the law to resist. In the beginning, Lu Ming could not block it at all. It was because he was too unfamiliar with the use of the law, and it was difficult for him to keep up with the other party's speed. However, as time passed, Lu Ming became more and more skilled in the use of the law. He could finally catch up with the other party's speed. 7 days later, Lu Ming had blocked most of the sword radiance. After a month, Lu Ming would be able to block all the sword gleams. Lu Ming felt that his usage of the laws had greatly improved. His understanding of each law had also deepened. To Lu Ming, there was no doubt about the benefits. Now that he had cast the self-created Hammer of Chaos and Sword of Death, the power had increased greatly. Lu Ming estimated that he had finally reached the small success stage. Moreover, it would be of great help to Lu Ming if he wanted to create new divine abilities in the future. This was because Lu Ming was more familiar with the use of various laws, and had a deeper understanding of each law. Naturally, he could combine new divine powers according to different laws. However, at this moment, the laws that were attacking Lu Ming suddenly changed. It was no longer a single sword light. Some laws turned into true dragons, some into phoenixes, some into cheilants, some into golden-winged great pungs. The 9 types of laws transformed into 9 different divine beasts. Moreover, they were all top-notch divine beasts that evolved into different attacks. In this case, it was more difficult for Lu Ming to deal with it. As this was a more advanced application of the law, Lu Ming could not keep up, and could only take the beating passively. Immediately, he began to get injured again. Lu Ming began to try. He transformed the 9 types of laws into different divine beasts to fight against the other party. However, this process was extremely difficult, even more so than the previous ones. Lu Ming did not give up. He knew that this was the only feasible method. This time, it took even longer. Lu Ming finally succeeded after fighting against the 9 types of laws for 2 months. Roar! Roar! Lu Ming transformed the 9 types of laws into different divine beasts, fighting against the other party's 9 types of laws and killing each other. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. I finally made a breakthrough in my life laws. Lu Ming's face was full of smiles. During this period of time, after constant resistance, his life law had finally broken through and reached the perfected first level. The 9 types of laws that he controlled had already reached the limits of the first realm. Moreover, he was able to use them with ease. Lu Ming felt that he could break through to the martial emperor realm at any time. This time, even if I don't get the indestructible ancient scroll, I've already gained enough. Lu Ming's smile grew wider. His greatest gain this time was not the breakthrough in the life laws, but his stronger use of the 9 laws and deeper understanding of the laws. These were all hidden wealth. They could not be seen now, but they would be of great use in Lu Ming's future cultivation process. In the future, Lu Ming's cultivation would have fewer detours, and it would be of great help to him in creating his own divine power. This was an invisible wealth. Buzz! At this moment, the void around them began to shake. The godly beasts formed by the 9 laws collapsed and disappeared one after another. The void also shattered like a mirror. Lu Ming felt his head spinning. The next moment, he realized that he was back on the ancient road. His palm was still on the platform. At this moment, the ancient road under Lu Ming's feet began to change. Originally, this ancient road had already reached its end. But now, it suddenly extended all the way to the front. I've succeeded. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. Chapter 2240. Chapter 2240. Obtaining the indestructible ancient scroll. Chapter 2240. Chapter 2240. Obtaining the indestructible ancient scroll. Originally, this path had already come to an end. But now the ancient path continued on. This meant that he had succeeded. Brother Lu Ming, you've succeeded, Chirpy. Bubbles cried out in excitement. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and realized that there was no platform in front of Bubbles and the stunning woman. The platform had disappeared. At this moment, a shocking aura came from other directions. Lu Ming swept his gaze around and found that it was the young geniuses from the other 8 roads. These people were looking at Lu Ming's side with fiery eyes. The platforms in front of them had disappeared. Only a platform remained in front of Lu Ming. Bubble, what happened? Did you all fail? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The others all failed half a month ago. Once they failed, the platform disappeared. You're the only one who has persisted until now, Bubbles explained. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that he was the only one who had succeeded. Bubble, let's go. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Bubbles and the beautiful lady followed suit. However, when Bubbles and the stunning lady stepped onto the new ancient path, they were blocked by an invisible force and could not take a single step. However, it had no effect on him. Brother Lu Ming, the bubbles can't go up. Chirp chirp. Pow Pow pouted, extremely unhappy. I'll help you. Lu Ming walked back and wanted to pull Bubbles up with him. However, he realized that he could not even go up. Brother Lu Ming, you can go up alone, Pow Pow said. In the end, Lu Ming had no choice but to give up and head towards the ancient road alone. The gazes of the youths on the other 8 paths all fell on Lu Ming. Some sighed, some were envious, and some were jealous. Lu Ming moved forward and slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. My physical body and saint power have improved again. As he walked, Lu Ming could feel the changes in his body. Previously, when the life law reached the completion of the first level, it tempered the body and saint power. This was an ultimate law, and its effect on the tempering of the body and saint power was very amazing. His body became stronger, and his saint power became more condensed. In terms of quality, Lu Ming's current holy energy was not inferior to the world energy at all. In fact, it was even stronger. Lu Ming's combat strength had undoubtedly increased. There was nothing unusual for the rest of the journey. It was very calm. Lu Ming quickened his pace and soon, he reached the end of the road. In front of them was a huge and magnificent palace. In front of the palace was a white jade square. In the sky above the white jade square, there was a ball of light that was extremely bright. What is this? Lu Ming's gaze was attracted by the ball of light. He squinted and realized that the core of the light was a small piece of glass-like shard that was crystal clear and bright. The moment Lu Ming stepped into the white jade square, the ball of light charged at him at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming was shocked. He instinctively wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The ball of light flew directly into the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows and disappeared. Boom! At this moment, there was an additional fragment in Lu Ming's mind. This is the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was because as long as his soul power got close to this fragment, he would be able to sense some information. Bang! At this moment, the fragment actually exploded and turned into waves of energy. It combined with Lu Ming's soul and became one. Then, a piece of information surged into Lu Ming's mind. It really is the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming felt as if the indestructible ancient scroll had become one with him. As long as he willed it, the indestructible ancient scroll would appear in his mind, and he would be able to comprehend it. This was very different from what Lu Ming had expected. Previously, Lu Ming had thought that the indestructible ancient scripture was a scripture or stored in a jade talisman. He did not expect that it would enter his mind in such a form. Can I inscribe the indestructible ancient scroll? At the thought of this, a jade talisman appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He wanted to engrave the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scroll into the jade talisman. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he was at a loss. He didn't know where to start. He had no idea where to start. He only needed to think about it, and the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scroll would appear in his mind. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he couldn't grasp the divine rhythm. It felt high and mighty, and he didn't know where to start. Lu Ming was stunned. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the figure that looked exactly like the middle-aged puppet. Don't even think about inscribing it. Your cultivation is too low. You can't do it at all. The middle-aged man spoke. Senior, what's going on? Why is it an imprint? Lu Ming asked. Sigh, it's already not bad to be able to retain one imprint. Back then, Master was besieged by the foreign races. He died, and his Tao dissipated. His soul scattered. In the end, Master was unwilling to let the indestructible ancient scroll be buried just like that. He used his last resort to get a heavenly Tao imprint to bring the indestructible ancient scroll back. At the same time, he gave me some instructions. After that, he lost his last consciousness, and only the indestructible ancient scroll remained. The middle-aged man said. I see. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. At the same time, he felt a sense of sadness. Even an invincible figure like the undying venerable sovereign had fallen, leaving behind only a mark of the great path. He had no choice but to do this. If such a thing had not happened, the undying venerable sovereign could have left behind a scripture or a jade talisman, which would have been a better inheritance. At the same time, Lu Ming also understood why he could not inscribe the ancient indestructible scroll. The indestructible ancient scroll was contained in the heavenly Tao imprint of the indestructible venerable emperor. The heavenly emperor powerhouses had merged with the heavenly Tao. To Lu Ming, this was too far away. It was beyond mysterious. Therefore, Lu Ming could not grasp it and could not inscribe it. Only when Lu Ming's cultivation level was strong enough in the future would he be able to inscribe the indestructible ancient scroll. Alright, you have obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, and one have completed my mission. Now I will send you out. With that, the middle-aged man waved his hand. Lu Ming immediately felt a powerful force enveloping him. The next moment, there was a fluctuation in the void. Lu Ming disappeared and reappeared outside Mount Eternal, outside the Door of Light. At the same time, the young men in Mount Eternal also disappeared and reappeared outside. It's out. This time, it's been 3 months. I wonder if anyone has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Many people's eyes lit up as they looked at the thousands of young heaven's favorites who entered. Alright, my mission has been completed. From now on, following the venerable sovereign's last will, Mount Eternal shall sink into the endless void forever. On Mount Eternal, the middle-aged puppet spoke, then turned around to leave. Taoist brother, please wait. At this moment, someone called out to the middle-aged puppet. Chapter 2241. Chapter 2241. Forced by the Celestial Emperor. Chapter 2241. Chapter 2241. Forced by the Celestial Emperor. An expert stepped forward and called out to the middle-aged puppet. Someone recognized that this was a heavenly Emperor realm expert. What's the matter? The middle-aged puppet stopped and asked. May first ask if the indestructible ancient scroll has appeared? The heavenly Emperor asked. The indestructible ancient scroll has already found its successor. The middle-aged puppet left these words, and then took a step forward, disappearing from Mount Eternal. Boom! Then, the huge Mount Eternal started to shake and exude a terrifying pressure. The void shattered, revealing the endless dark void. Boom! 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 The majestic Mount Eternal rumbled and began to move. It flew into the endless dark void and disappeared. Then, the cracked space healed and returned to its original state. Mount Eternal had disappeared. He would sink into the dark void forever. But at this moment, no one had the time to lament the disappearance of Mount Eternal. Their attention was focused on the middle-aged puppet's words. The indestructible ancient scroll had already found its successor. This meant that the indestructible ancient scroll had already been obtained by someone else. And it was among these thousands of heaven's favorites. Everyone's eyes were on the thousands of young heaven's favorites. This included the heavenly emperor powerhouses. The thousands of young heaven's favorites were all sizing each other up. In the end, more than 10 young men's gazes fell on Lu Ming. These heaven's favorites had all passed the first test in Mount Eternal. However, they had all failed the second test. They all saw that Lu Ming had passed the second round of assessment and continued to move forward. If anyone had obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, it would definitely be Lu Ming. Some people's eyes were filled with jealousy. Who among you has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll? Step forward. A heavenly emperor expert spoke. A wisp of aura emanated from his body, as if it was the heavenly Tao. It represented this world, and it made one's heart tremble. Lu Ming frowned but did not say anything. Who is it? Come out. Another celestial Varch stepped out. His eyes were like two stars, shining with a brilliant light, as he swept his gaze over Lu Ming and the others. Lord Heavenly Emperor, I know who has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Suddenly a young man spoke. Lu Ming had forgotten his past. It was a young man with short hair. Oh, who is it? One of the heavenly emperors asked. It's him, Lu Ming. The short-haired youth pointed at Lu Ming. What? It's actually him. The scene was in an uproar. Many people did not believe it. Wasn't Lu Ming not a saint emperor yet? How did he manage to obtain the indestructible ancient scroll? What was going on? It's indeed him. Among all of us, he was the only one who made it to the end. If there's anyone who has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, it has to be him. Another young man said. Following that, a few other young men pointed out that Lu Ming had obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. He actually got it, damn it. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and the others from the Hengxing River were all filled with jealousy. At the scene, almost everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, did you get the indestructible ancient scroll? Tell me the truth, it's best not to lie. One of the heavenly emperors looked at Lu Ming and said in a cold and aloof voice. It's the Lan family's heavenly emperor. Someone whispered nearby. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It seemed that this heavenly emperor came from Lan Yun's clan. That's right. I'm the one who obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming frowned, but eventually admitted it. After all, so many people had seen him pass the second stage, and he was the only one who had made it to the end. As long as one wasn't an idiot, they would know that the indestructible ancient scroll had definitely been obtained by him. There was no use in denying it, so it was better to admit it directly. Many people's eyes lit up. The Lan family's celestial Varch and the other celestial Thearch's eyes lit up with a burning flame. Now, Hand over the indestructible ancient scroll, the Lan family's celestial Darch said. His eyes were burning with passion as he stared at Lu Ming. Normally, it would be very difficult for a heavenly emperor realm powerhouse to have such a fluctuation in his heart. However, the indestructible ancient scroll's temptation was too strong. It was an ancient scroll that shook the heaven realm, and it was the most powerful life-saving ancient scroll. Even a heavenly emperor would be tempted by it. That's right, hurry up and take it out. The other celestial emperor also spoke coldly. They had a haughty look on their faces, and their tone was cold and overbearing. They demanded Lu Ming to hand over the ancient scripture in an aggressive manner. It was as if Lu Ming had no choice but to do as they said. What kind of attitude is this? Dandan was unhappy and shouted. This is the opportunity that Lu Ming obtained. It is his personal opportunity. He can pass it to whoever he wants. The Lan family's heavenly emperor glanced at Dandan coldly and said, What a joke! The indestructible ancient scroll is a treasure of the heaven realm. How can he swallow it all by himself? Hand it over and everyone's combat power will be improved. This is beneficial to the entire heaven realm. So what if this is the case? After all, this was what Lu Ming had obtained through his own hard work. It belonged to him. Was this the attitude they had when they asked others to take out their own treasures? Why are you acting so overbearing? Can't you just ask for a favor? Dandan shouted. How dare you? What kind of person is the heavenly emperor? He was just asking him to take out an ancient scripture. Why did he need to invite him? Can he bear the responsibility? Lan Yin shouted. Hee, there's nothing amazing about being a celestial emperor. Dandan pouted. How dare you insult the celestial emperor? This is a capital crime. Lan Yin roared in anger. But Dandan pouted and ignored him. The Lan family's heavenly emperor and the other heavenly emperors cast a few cold glances at Dandan. With their eyesight, they could naturally see Dandan's true form. They did not say anything and continued to look at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, hand over the indestructible ancient scroll. The Lan family's celestial Darch spoke with an air of superiority, as if it was only natural for him to ask Lu Ming to hand it over. Dandan gritted her teeth in anger. Seniors, if one could hand it over, I would definitely do so. Unfortunately, I can't. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Although he was furious, he understood that he could only compromise when facing a heavenly emperor expert. There was no way to resist, because the difference in power was too great. He could be crushed into pieces with just a breath from the other party. Even if he had a celestial emperor's corporeal body, it would be useless. You can't hand it over? What do you mean by that? The Lan family's heavenly emperor and the other heavenly emperor's eyes glinted coldly. That's because when the undying emperor was besieged by the alien races, his soul was destroyed, and he didn't leave behind any secret manual that recorded the undying ancient scroll. He only used a heavenly Tao imprint to carry the undying ancient scroll back to Mount Eternal. What I obtained was the heaven Tao imprint of the undying heavenly emperor. However, the heaven Tao imprint is too mysterious. With my current cultivation, I can't inscribe the undying ancient scroll. Therefore, I can't hand it over. Lu Ming explained. Nonsense. He's just spouting nonsense. Yin Shi called out. That's right. He doesn't want to hand over the indestructible ancient scroll and wants to keep it for himself. That's why he came up with such a ridiculous excuse. He's too selfish. Lan Yin followed suit. The Lan family's celestial Darch and the rest looked at Lu Ming with deep doubts. They obviously did not believe him. Chapter 2242. The Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. Chapter 2242. The Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor Lu Ming cast a cold glance at Lan Yin and Yen Shi, then said, If you don't believe me, I can project the scene. Lu Ming then looked at Dandan and said, Dandan, project the images in my memory, and let everyone see it clearly. All right. Dandan came in front of Lu Ming and pointed her finger between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Dandan cast the soul-searching technique and projected the image in Lu Ming's soul. This was not difficult. As long as Lu Ming did not resist, anyone could do it. Soon after, Dandan waved her hand, and an image appeared in the sky. This scene was the scene of Lu Ming at the White Jade Square in Mount Eternal. In the sky, the dazzling mark of the heavenly Tao flew into Lu Ming's glabella. Then, there were images that Lu Ming could not inscribe, and the middle-aged man's explanation. Everything was clear. Lu Ming was not lying. How could this be? Detestable. Someone bellowed, revealing a look of deep disappointment. The Lan family's heavenly emperor, and the others were equally disappointed. As for Lan Yin, Yin Shi and the others, their faces were ugly. He did not expect that the truth was as Lu Ming said. At this moment, Dandan finished her work, and the image disappeared. Everyone, this is the truth. One can't hand over the indestructible ancient scroll now. Lu Ming said. Since you can't hand it over, I can only strip your soul and strip you of the indestructible ancient scroll. The celestial arch of the Lan family said coldly. Lu Ming's pupils constricted at her words. Meanwhile, Bubble and Dandan were even more furious. Senior, this is too much. The heavenly Tao mark has already fused into Lu Ming's soul. If we forcefully remove it, Lu Ming's soul will definitely not be able to withstand it, and will be crippled. The master of the Gu family finally couldn't stand it anymore and spoke. The remaining small group of people also couldn't bear it. But most of them had cold eyes. So what if I'm crippled? The Lan family's heavenly emperor said coldly. He has a crippled body, and will never become a saint emperor. It's a waste for him to possess the indestructible ancient scroll. Although it's impossible for everyone to see it, it's still better to give it to a top heaven's favorite than to keep it on him. Lan Cheng, you're the heavenly emperor, yet you're forcing a junior like this. Don't you feel ashamed? At this moment, a disdainful voice sounded. Many people were shocked. Who is it that dared to speak to the Lan clan's celestial arch in such a manner? At this moment, ripples appeared in the void. With a crack, the space split open, and a figure stepped out. This person looked to be around 30 years old. He was dressed in white, and had an unparalleled charm. Lu Ming's eyes widened at the sight of this person. This was because he was too familiar with this person's appearance. The Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. This person was the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. He looked exactly the same as the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming could not be mistaken. After all, the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor's physical body was still in Lu Ming's hands. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu had told him that he had once been seriously injured, and his soul had almost been destroyed. He had never expected to reform his body and reform it. Later, Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu had left his stone body in the primordial realm, and suppressed it in the Lotus world. Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu himself had come to the Heaven realm, and fought in the Heaven realm. Lu Ming did not expect to see the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor here. Hung Yu, it's you! The Lan family's celestial thearch's face darkened. Lu Ming was overjoyed to see the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. Of course it's me. Why? You're not happy to see me? Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu smiled faintly. Hung Yu, you want to stop me? The Lan clan's celestial arch said coldly. Of course. It's his own fortune that this little guy can obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. Even if he can inscribe it, he can give it to whoever he wants. It's his freedom. Besides, he can inscribe it now. You, the dignified celestial emperor, actually want to strip the indestructible ancient scroll from his soul. This is ridiculous. Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu said, his voice filled with anger. Hung Yu, I'm doing this for the sake of the Heaven realm. Right now, the Heaven realm is being besieged by the alien races, and is in imminent danger. We don't know when the alien races will break through our defenses. We can't miss anything that can improve the strength of the Heaven realm. As for Lu Ming, he's a cripple. It's a pure waste to keep the indestructible ancient scroll. It's best for the Heaven realm to extract it, and hand it over to another Heaven's favorite. Hung Yu, I know that you're from the primordial realm, just like Lu Ming, but you can't be selfish at this time. The Lan clan's Heavenly Emperor said. Haha, selfish. Lan Cheng, we all know who is the one with selfish motives. Let me ask you, if you extract it, who do you plan to give the indestructible ancient scroll to? Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu said. You don't need to worry about this. The Lan clan's Heavenly Emperor said. I, Hung Yu, am here. Let's see who can touch Lu Ming today. The Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor said in an extremely domineering manner. Hung Yu, Do you think you can stop us all by yourself? The Lan family's celestial arch said coldly, as a terrifying aura burst forth from his body. At the same time, a few other heavenly emperors did the same. They stared at the Hung Yu heavenly emperor with unfriendly eyes. One of them was the master of the eternal star river, the gray-robed elder. In addition, the Yin clan's heavenly emperor was also among them. Do you really think we're easy to bully? At this moment, a rough voice rang out. The void then split open, and two more figures walked out. A burly middle-aged man and an old man stood beside the Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor, both of them exuding a terrifying aura. All of them were celestial emperors. What's wrong? Your primordial realm's celestial emperor wants to rebel and betray the heaven realm first, right? The Lan clan's celestial Varch bellowed in fear. The two heavenly emperors that came after Heavenly Emperor Hung, you were both from the primordial realm, and their strength was astonishing. They were terrifyingly powerful. The Lan clan's heavenly emperor was especially wary of the Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor. What a joke! The few of you can't represent the heaven realm. Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu laughed coldly. Then let's fight, and see if you can protect Lu Ming. I really don't understand. What's the point of protecting a cripple? You don't know the big picture. The master of the Eternal Star River, the gray-robed old man, said coldly. He stepped forward in an extremely powerful manner. Ha ha ha. At this moment Lu Ming burst out laughing. His laughter was filled with mockery. Kid, what are you laughing at? The Lan family's celestial Varch cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. Now the celestial Thearchs were having a conversation, and Lu Ming actually dared to laugh so wantonly. This was disrespectful to them. I'm laughing at you guys. Lu Ming pointed at the Lan family's celestial Varch, the gray-robed elder, the Yin family's celestial Varch, and the rest. What? Many people were shocked. Lu Ming actually dared to laugh at the celestial Thearchs. He was audacious and was courting death. The Lan family's heavenly emperor and the others looked on with cold eyes as a terrifying aura burst forth. However, it was blocked by the heavenly emperor Hung Yu and the others. Brat, you better explain clearly. The Lan clan's celestial Varch said coldly. You keep saying that it's a waste to keep the indestructible ancient scroll with me. In my opinion, that's funny. It's a waste to give it to someone else. Only by keeping it with me can it be put to its greatest use. Lu Ming shouted loudly, his voice spreading throughout the entire venue. Chapter 2243. Chapter 2242. Using Strength to Prove. Chapter 2243. Chapter 2242. Using Strength to Prove. Only by keeping the indestructible ancient scroll with me can it be used to its full potential. It would be a waste to give it to someone else. Lu Ming's voice was filled with confidence. Ridiculous, ridiculous. You're a cripple and will never become a saint emperor. I don't know where your confidence comes from. Lan Yun couldn't hold back and immediately retorted, his words filled with ridicule. That's right. It's better to give the indestructible ancient scroll to any one of us than to keep it with you. You're a cripple, do you understand? Yin Shi followed suit. Crippled body. Hee hee, you're all losers. You're not even as good as a crippled body. I don't understand how you still have the face to shout in front of me. If one were you, I'd kill myself. What's the point of staying in this world? To embarrass yourself? Lu Ming berated. Right, good scolding, good scolding. These guys were stripped naked by me back then, but they still have the face to come out and see people. I'm really convinced. One didn't even help them up. I'm convinced by them. Dandan cried out. You guys. Lan Yin and Yin Zai's faces were flushed red. They were so ashamed and indignant that they wanted to find a hole to hide in. You have a sharp tongue, but the facts have proven that you are a cripple. The Lan clan's celestial Varch said coldly. Alright, since that's the case, I'll challenge all of them here today. Whoever can defeat me will be able to obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming spoke at this moment, his gaze sweeping across the young heaven's favorites. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming actually wanted to challenge all the talents. How bold. Was he crazy? A few months ago, Lu Ming had defeated Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yin Shi, who had joined forces and displayed an extremely powerful combat ability. However, Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yin Shi were only 4-star void emperors. However, the young Heaven's Pride experts present were at least half of the Heaven Realm's Heaven's Pride experts. Among them, there was no lack of 5-star, 6-star, and even 7-star void emperors. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he was definitely not a match for these people, because the difference in strength was too great. He's really arrogant, one of the young geniuses spoke coldly. He wanted to attack immediately and teach Lu Ming a lesson. Alright, you said it. If you lose, you'll have to obediently let us strip you of the indestructible ancient scroll. Hengyu, don't interfere when the time comes. The Lan clan's celestial arch said coldly. The indestructible ancient scroll was contained in the heaven path mark of the undying venerable emperor, and had already fused with Lu Ming's soul. If he were to forcefully strip it off, Lu Ming's soul would definitely be severely injured, or even disintegrate, and he would die on the spot. However, the Lan family's celestial arch would not consider this. What did Lu Ming's life and death have to do with him? The Hengyu heavenly emperor glanced at Lu Ming, then nodded. Then let's do it this way. Let the young people solve their own problems. Retreat. Then the Lan family's celestial arch spoke. A wave of energy spread out and everyone retreated, giving Lu Ming enough space. Who wants to fight first? Lan Yun, Yin Shi, weren't you two making a big fuss? Come on. Lu Ming looked at Lan Yun and Yin Shi. Their expressions turned even uglier. However, they understood that they were no match for Lu Ming. They would only be looking for a beating if they went up. Why would they go up? Arrogant. They'll defeat you. A cold voice was heard. A young man with short hair took a step forward and came before Lu Ming. This person was the young man who had pointed out that Lu Ming had obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. His heart was filled with jealousy, but at the same time, he was also extremely greedy. He wanted to take the indestructible ancient scroll for himself. Now that he had the chance, he was naturally the first to rush out. You're just in time, Lu Ming said coldly, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. He did not know this person, but this person put Lu Ming in danger because of his greed. How could Lu Ming not take revenge for this? It was a good time to torture this person. Bang! Lu Ming took action immediately. He stepped into the void and charged toward the short-haired youth like a cannonball at an extremely fast speed. Humph! The short-haired young man snorted coldly and retreated quickly. At the same time, he quickly formed a seal with his hands. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a figure in iron armor. He was more than 2 meters tall, and held a huge iron sword in his hand. He swung the sword at Lu Ming. The sword chi whistled through the air with astonishing power. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and used 5 types of laws. Clang! Lu Ming's palm collided with the armored figure. The armored figure was sent flying by Lu Ming, and his attack was blocked. This is undead. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. The armored figure was not a living creature at all, because there was no life force in it. It was a dead spirit full of death chi. At this moment, the short-haired young man continued to form hand seals. 2 more 2-meter-tall figures in iron armor appeared in the air. They were both wearing iron armor and holding a thick sword. This is a puppet? No, he was summoned. This person controls the law of summoning and the law of death. This is a spell. Lu Ming's mind was racing. In an instant he figured out the key point. The short-haired young man had mastered several laws, one of which was the death law, one of the strongest laws. When combined with the summoning law, he could summon dead spirits to fight. At this moment, the 3 undead spirits charged at Lu Ming at the same time. Their iron swords were held in the air, and their power was shocking. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming pointed 3 fingers in a row. 3-finger forces blasted toward the 3 armored figures, but they were all blocked. The 3 armored figures were sent flying, but Lu Ming's finger force was also blocked. 5-star Void Emperor. Lu Ming could tell that the buzzcut young man's cultivation was at the 5-star Illusionary Emperor stage, and he had mastered 3 types of laws. This was because the dead spirits he summoned not only contained the death law, but also other laws. The stronger the summoner's cultivation, the more powerful the undead spirit would be. Furthermore, the more nomological laws it contained, the stronger it would be. Therefore, the combat strength of these three undead spirits was very shocking. However, it was not over yet. The short-haired young man did not stop summoning. There were shadows flashing in the space. In the end, there were 9 armored figures that charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming is going to lose. Lan Yin sneered. The short-haired young man could continuously summon dead spirits in an endless stream. He could exhaust Lu Ming to death. As long as Lu Ming was defeated, he would be stripped of the indestructible ancient scroll. At that time, his soul would be injured, and he would be reduced to an idiot or even die. Thinking of this, he felt very comfortable. He wants to challenge all the heaven's favorites with such strength? He is overestimating himself. Yan Shi also said coldly. At this moment, the 9 armored figures had already reached Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming struck out 9 palms in a row, resisting the 9 iron-armored figures. His body was forced to retreat. Lose! The short-haired young man revealed an excited expression. Just this bit of strength. Then we can end this. Let's go, Lu Ming said calmly. A giant hammer appeared in his hand. The Chaos Hammer. This hammer of chaos contains 6 types of laws. Chapter 2244. Chapter 2244. First Victory. Chapter 2244. Chapter 2244. First Victory. Lu Ming cast the Hammer of Chaos, which contained 6 types of laws. Chaos, Array Dao, Artifact Dao, Devour, Extremity, Penetration. 6 types of nomological laws fused with each other. 6 different powers complemented each other, and burst out with astonishing power. Boom! Lu Ming picked up the Hammer of Chaos, and continued to pour holy power into it, making the Hammer of Chaos bigger and bigger, smashing it forward. Bang! An iron-armored undead spirit was hit by the chaotic hammer. Its body exploded into pieces of armor and bones. Then Lu Ming swung the hammer again. The second armored undead spirit followed in the footsteps of the previous one, and exploded. The short-haired young man's expression changed. His hands formed seals even faster, causing ripples in the void. It was as if a mysterious world had been created. Then, a furious roar was heard as a huge object appeared in the sky. This was a true dragon. No, to be precise, it was a huge dragon bone. However, it was covered in iron armor, and emitted a strong aura of death. It was an undead dragon bone. Kill! The short-haired young man roared. This undead dragon bone was his most powerful ultimate move. The remaining 9 iron-armored undead spirits waved their combat swords and charged at Lu Ming. Roar! The dragon bone of the undead roared. It stepped in the air and twisted its body, charging toward Lu Ming. Shatter! Lu Ming's body glowed, and the surging holy power continuously gushed into the Hammer of Chaos. The Hammer of Chaos grew larger and larger, until it was as large as a mountain. This time, 3 iron-armored undead spirits were smashed by Lu Ming's hammer and exploded. Bang! Lu Ming stepped in the void, and swung the Hammer of Chaos continuously. It was a complete suppression. Every time he smashed, an iron-armored dead spirit would be smashed to pieces by Lu Ming. In a few breaths, 9 iron-armored dead spirits were all smashed to pieces. At this moment, a huge dragon claw was coming at Lu Ming. Lu Ming wielded the Hammer of Chaos, and swung it at the dragon claw. With a violent boom, the giant undead dragon bone trembled, and was forced back. Lu Ming caught up with him. He held the hammer with both hands, and launched a storm of attacks. The short-haired young man's combat strength was very strong. He was a 5-star Void Emperor, and controlled 3 types of laws. 1 was the strongest and 2 were King Path laws. The strongest law was the Death Law, and the King Path law was the Summoning Law. Both of these laws had been cultivated to the 2nd realm. In addition, there was another law of corrosion that could be cultivated to the perfection of the 1st realm. The 3 types of laws combined to form a wondrous magical power that could summon terrifying undead spirits. Their combat strength was very strong. However, Lu Ming now had 9 types of laws that had reached the completion of the 1st level. After being tempered by 9 types of laws, his body and saint energy had reached an astonishing level. In addition, Lu Ming's usage of the laws had greatly deepened. The power of the self-created Hammer of Chaos was even more shocking than before. With the eruption of 6 types of laws, Lu Ming's abilities were completely above that of the short-haired youth. Boom, boom, boom. The Chaos Hammer kept clashing with the undead bone dragon. The undead bone dragon couldn't fight back and kept retreating. Its huge body kept shaking, and even one of its claws was blown off. Hold on. The short-haired young man roared. He poured all the world energy in his body into the dead spirit dragon bone, increasing its power. However, it was still unnecessary. Boom. Lu Ming held the Hammer of Chaos with both hands. The Hammer of Chaos was like a small mountain, and it smashed heavily on the dead spirit dragon bone. The undead dragon bone glowed. The air of death mixed with the power of the law of corrosion pounced at Lu Ming with a furious roar. Several dragon claws struck out and collided with the Hammer of Chaos. Bang! Kacha! The dragon claw of the undead dragon bone exploded, turning into broken bones and flying everywhere. Then, the Hammer of Chaos struck the skull of the undead dragon bone. The skull of the undead spirit dragon bone was covered with a layer of thick iron armor. However, under this downward attack, the iron armor burst open, and the skull of the undead spirit dragon bone was covered with cracks like a spider web. Bang! Lu Ming leaped and stepped on the skull of the undead dragon bone. He stomped with all his might, and the skull of the undead dragon bone burst. Then the entire dragon bone exploded. Inch-Hair Green's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. Buzz! Lu Ming made use of the force from his stomp, and instantly pounced in front of the short-haired youth. The short-haired teenager was shocked, and wanted to admit defeat. However, Lu Ming did not give him the chance to do so. He smashed his hammer down. Plop! The short-haired young man was hit by the hammer directly. His body fell down like a meteorite and smashed into the ground. The earth rumbled and dust filled the air. A huge pit was created on the ground. The short-haired young man lay in the pit like a dead dog. He was bloodthirsty and twitching nonstop. Lu Ming had shown mercy. Otherwise, this person would have been crushed to death by Lu Ming. This kind of trash is still thinking about the indestructible ancient scroll? Isn't it a waste to give it to such a person? Lu Ming said disdainfully. He looked at the Lan family's heavenly emperor, Lan Cheng, and his voice was filled with ridicule. Lan Cheng's face was extremely gloomy, and his heart was filled with anger. In his opinion, Lu Ming was just an ant. An ant actually dared to provoke him and mock him. He was simply audacious. However, there were so many people here, and with his identity as the heavenly emperor, it was naturally not appropriate for him to make a move. He could only suppress his anger and snorted coldly. This guy is so strong. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, Hung Xinghe, and Yuan Xian all had gloomy eyes. Tian Ming, who was wearing a white robe, stood in the void with a thoughtful look in his eyes. The others were also extremely shocked. It was the first time that many of them had seen Lu Ming in action. They could not help but widen their eyes in disbelief. He was only an emperor to be, but not only could he cross realms to fight with the martial emperor realm, he could also cross so many small realms. The short-haired young man was a 5-star illusionary emperor. Moreover, he was not an ordinary 5-star illusionary emperor. He was a top-notch heaven's favorite. There was such a huge difference between them, but he was still defeated by Lu Ming. This was simply unheard of, unprecedented, and had never happened in history. Regardless of whether Lu Ming could become a martial emperor or not, this level of combat strength had created history. Who else wants to fight? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings, his fighting spirit soaring. He'll do it. A voice immediately sounded. A black-robed young man with long hair flew out. His speed was very fast, as if he was traveling through the void. He took a step and suddenly appeared not far away from Lu Ming. It's Ming Sheng. He's about to make his move. It's said that Ming Sheng has already reached the level of a 6-star illusionary emperor. His comprehension of the laws is even more profound. He will definitely be able to defeat Lu Ming with this. That's right. Ming Sheng's core nomological laws are the nomological laws of time and space. When combined with other nomological laws, the magical power it develops is unpredictable, and its strength is unfathomable. As soon as the black-clad young man appeared, the crowd burst into a discussion. It was obvious that the black-clad young man was very famous. Chapter 2245. Fighting a 6-star Void Emperor Heavenly Pride. Chapter 2245. Fighting a 6-star Void Emperor Heavenly Pride. Ming Sheng had black hair and was dressed in black. He was very handsome. He stood in the void, but his figure was constantly changing. It was as if he didn't belong to this space-time. Space-time law. Lu Ming's gaze flickered slightly. Space-time laws were the most unpredictable and mysterious. It was one of the most difficult laws to deal with among the top 10 laws. If it was combined with other nomological laws, the sacred art formed would definitely be very mysterious. Lu Ming was highly focused. He did not dare to relax. Buzz! Suddenly Ming Sheng's figure moved. In a flash, he pounced toward Lu Ming at top speed. However, when he was halfway through, Ming Sheng's body suddenly disappeared. Not good. Lu Ming was shocked. Without thinking, he swung the hammer of chaos backward. The huge hammer of chaos was as huge as a mountain. It filled the sky and the void kept exploding. However, it did not hit Ming Sheng. He was not behind Lu Ming. Instead, he was above Lu Ming. Boom! Ming Sheng took a step forward. A terrifying power pierced through the void and formed a terrifying killing force that blasted towards Lu Ming's head at an astonishing speed. At this moment, Lu Ming unfurled his 6-feathered divine wings. It was a pair of transparent wings. With a flap, his figure disappeared on the spot and reappeared 1,000 meters away, avoiding Ming Sheng's attack. At the same time, the hammer of chaos in Lu Ming's hand disappeared. Although the hammer of chaos was powerful, its speed was not fast. It was not suitable to deal with people like Ming Sheng. Interesting, then let's compete in speed. Seeing that Lu Ming had dodged the attack, Ming Sheng sneered. His figure flashed again, and he disappeared from the spot. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. With a flash of his 6-feathered wings, he left the spot. The two of them were astonishingly fast as they flickered in the air. Some of the weaker cultivators couldn't even see their movements. He's so fast. Ming Sheng can control the space-time law. It's understandable that he's fast. But why is Lu Ming's speed so shocking too? His divine art is so amazing. He can actually keep up with Ming Sheng's speed. Many with high cultivation opened their eyes wide and carefully watched the scene, afraid to miss a single thing. The two of them were too fast, so fast that they disappeared. If one's cultivation was not high enough, they would not be able to see them at all. They would only see an empty void. Lu Ming and Ming Sheng flashed in the void at an extremely fast speed. Within a few minutes, the two of them flashed thousands of times, but they did not encounter a single move. Buzz! Suddenly Ming Sheng's figure appeared. He didn't move anymore, and his expression was a little dark. In terms of speed, which was his strong suit, he actually could not suppress Lu Ming. He felt a little embarrassed. Ming Sheng stopped. Lu Ming also stopped not far away. Your speed is useless in front of me, Ming Sheng said coldly, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. He is indeed a 6-star Void Emperor. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Ming Sheng's cultivation was higher than that of the short-haired young man. He had reached the level of a 6-star Void Emperor. Mountain River Palm. Ming Sheng moved. He soared into the sky, and then slapped down with his palm. An extremely huge palm print formed. As soon as the palm print appeared, it quickly evolved and finally turned into a world of mountains and rivers. One could see that there were mountains, rivers, and lakes inside. It was like an entire world, suppressing the entire void and pressing down on Lu Ming. The scene was extremely terrifying. Facing such an attack, there was no way to dodge it. The only way was to take it head-on. The hammer of chaos appeared in Lu Ming's hands again, and it grew rapidly. Lu Ming picked up the chaos hammer with both hands, and swung it at the mountain river world, as if he wanted to blow this world up. Boom! There was a deafening boom, and the world of mountains and rivers shook violently. However, the hammer of chaos in Lu Ming's hand shook even more violently. He could feel an extremely powerful force surging toward him. It was as if he was really shaking the world. His body trembled violently as he retreated. His chi and blood were in turmoil. What a powerful force. This person has already mastered 4 types of nomological laws. 3 of which have already reached the second realm. Lu Ming took a deep breath and stabilized the surging blood in his body. The 2 of them exchanged a blow, and Lu Ming could sense Mingsheng's ability. It was extremely shocking. His cultivation had reached the level of a 6-star illusionary emperor, and he had mastered 4 types of laws, 1 of which was an ultimate law, and 3 of which were king path laws. He had already reached the second realm in the space-time law, and 2 of the king path laws. Furthermore, this person's magical power technique was formed from 4 types of nomological laws, which was very shocking. Although some people could control many types of nomological laws, such as 5 types of nomological laws, their superpower technique was only composed of 3 types of nomological laws, and could not display their full power. For example, although Lu Ming had mastered 9 types of laws, his divine power technique was not made up of 9 types of laws. It could be said that Mingsheng's battle power was very shocking. He was several times stronger than the short-haired youth from before. You can take one of my palm strikes. Not bad. Let's see how many of my palm strikes you can take. Level 2 Mountain River Palm. Mingsheng said coldly. His entire body emitted a brilliant light as he struck out with another palm. This time, 2 mountain river worlds were formed and pressed down on Lu Ming. The power was even more shocking. Come on! Lu Ming let out a long roar. The power of his body was circulated to the extreme. He condensed a strong saint power and poured it into the hammer of chaos. He swung the hammer at his opponent. Another deafening boom was heard. The force rolled in all directions, and a figure was forced to retreat. It was Lu Ming. This time, he was still at a disadvantage and was forced to retreat. Again, Mingsheng shouted and launched a series of attacks. This time, 3 worlds were formed, and they pressed down on Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming also unleashed his full power and cast 7 types of laws: Chaos, Devour, Extremity, Penetration, Formation Dao, Alchemy Dao, and Craftsmanship Dao. Apart from the Death Rule and the Life Rule, which he had not integrated, Lu Ming had used all his strength. The power of the Hammer of Chaos was even more astonishing, and it collided with the Mountain River world. This time, Lu Ming directly pierced through the opponent's 3 layers of mountains and rivers, causing Mingsheng to retreat continuously. Hiss hiss hiss, gasps could be heard at the scene. Lu Ming was actually able to fight with Mingsheng, and even force him to retreat. This was too terrifying. Mingsheng had the cultivation base of a 6-star Void Emperor. In addition, Mingsheng's own talent made it easy for him to defeat an ordinary 7-star Void Emperor. However, Lu Ming was able to defeat him. What did this mean? This meant that Lu Ming could also defeat an ordinary 7-star illusionary emperor. Lu Ming was only an emperor to be, but he was able to defeat an ordinary 7-star illusionary emperor. This was equivalent to crossing an entire realm. Many people looked at each other. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that all this was real. I heard that Lu Ming has mastered 2 ultimate maxims. I wonder if it's true. One don't know. It's incredible that he can control 2 ultimate maxims. In my opinion, it might be true. Didn't you notice that he has already used 7 maxims? This is already unbelievable. I wouldn't be surprised if he can control another ultimate maxim. However, even if he has mastered 2 ultimate maxims, it won't be of much use to improve his combat strength. This is because ultimate maxims can't be merged, and it's impossible to construct a divine power. That's true. Chapter 2246. Chapter 2246. Breaking the Mountains and Rivers. Chapter 2246. Chapter 2246. Breaking the Mountains and Rivers. All around, the countless spectators were discussing. Mingsheng's expression was very ugly. With his cultivation, he was forced to retreat by an emperor-to-be, which was absolutely shameful. 4th level Mountain River Palm. Mingsheng roared. He looked down from above and continuously struck out with his palms. This time, 4 palm prints of mountains and rivers came crashing down on Lu Ming. This level of power could be said to be incomparably shocking. Lu Ming's expression was extremely grave as he felt a terrifying pressure. He pushed his cultivation to the extreme. At the same time, He held the hammer of chaos in his right hand, and held the void in his left hand. A battle sword formed in the void. It was the sword of death, and was also made up of 7 nomological laws. Death rule. Lu Ming has really mastered 2 ultimate maxims. Someone exclaimed. It was one thing to hear about it, but it was another to see it with their own eyes. At this moment, they had seen Lu Ming cast 2 ultimate maxims with their own eyes. This impact was too great for them. Such talent. It's a pity he can't become a saint emperor. If he could, how amazing would he be? A heavenly emperor-level figure sighed. The Lan clan's heavenly emperor, the Yin clan's heavenly emperor, and his master from the Eternal Star River all had gloomy expressions. Break! Lu Ming held the hammer of chaos in one hand, and the sword of death in the other. He soared into the sky and attacked his opponent. Boom! Boom! The hammer of chaos and the sword of death struck at each other. The entire world was boiling as explosions rang out continuously, causing the void to split apart. Bang! His opponent's first mountain river world crumbled in an instant, followed by the second, and then the third. With a final deafening boom, Lu Ming broke through the 4th level of the mountain river world. However, Lu Ming himself was also sent flying by the terrifying force. He flew tens of thousands of meters away. His chi and blood churned, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Mingxing was not in a good state either. His palm force was broken and Lu Ming's terrifying attack was charging towards him, causing him to retreat frantically. This time it was a draw. Lu Ming's figure stopped. The 6-feathered galloping beast flapped its wings fiercely. Its figure was like a bolt of lightning, drawing an arc in the air and charging towards Mingxing. 4th level mountain river palm. Mingxing shouted, and once again cast the quadruple mountain and river palm. The quadruple mountain and river world formed and pressed down on Lu Ming. The 2 of them collided once again, and then quickly retreated. It's said that when the mountain river palm is cultivated to the highest realm, one can cultivate 9 levels of the mountain river world. It's extremely terrifying. Now, it seems that Mingxing has only cultivated it to the 4th level. That's right. However, the 4th level of the mountain river palm is definitely shocking. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be able to fight with Mingxing to this extent. Some people sighed. Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, they still felt that it was unbelievable. Lu Ming and Mingxing had similar combat strength. The 2 of them exchanged 10 moves in a row, and neither of them had a clear winner. Mingxing's expression became more and more unsightly. Using the quadruple realm mountain river palm, consumed a shocking amount of world power. If this continued, he would not be able to hold on any longer. No, one can't be defeated. How can I be defeated by a quasi-emperor? One must defeat him, and obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. Mingxing roared in his heart. At this moment, Mingxing's aura became even stronger. The power of the world in his body seemed to be burning. Mingxing was going to risk his life. Many people had the same thought. Lu Ming's gaze turned serious. 5-fold mountain river palm. Mingxing shouted. His long hair fluttered. His palm seemed to push the world forward. As he pushed out, layers of mountain river world formed. In the end, a total of 5 layers of mountain river world stacked together and blasted toward Lu Ming. With Mingxing's cultivation, it was impossible for him to unleash the 5th level of the mountain river world. Now that he had forcefully unleashed it, he would suffer a backlash and be seriously injured. But now, in order to win against Lu Ming, he could not care anymore. Lose! Mingxing's eyes flashed with ferocity. A 5th level mountain river realm was much more powerful than a 4th level mountain river realm. This move was enough to crush Lu Ming and defeat him. The indestructible ancient scroll was his. Mingxing roared in his heart. At that moment, Lu Ming stood still in the void. The world of 5 mountains and rivers enveloped the void and pressed down on Lu Ming. Under the world of 5 mountains and rivers, Lu Ming's figure was as small as an ant. Lu Ming is still going to be defeated. Some people sighed. Previously, Lu Ming should have reached his limit. If he had already reached his limit, he would not be a match for this move. Only Dandan had a sneer on the corner of her mouth. He knew that Lu Ming had not used his ultimate move. Boom! 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 The heavens and earth rumbled, and the void trembled. The world of 5 mountains and rivers pressed down, getting closer and closer to Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming raised his hands high, one hand holding the hammer of chaos, and the other holding the sword of death. Now, Lu Ming put his hands together, combining the hammer of chaos and the sword of death. The moment they merged, Lu Ming held the sword with both hands, and a dazzling radiance burst out. Then a long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. This spear contained 8 types of laws: chaos, death, devour, extremity, penetration, array Dao, smithing Dao, and alchemy Dao. Infinite Dragon Spear. Lu Ming shouted. This was the name he had given to this move. It had the same name as the long spear that he had used in the past. The long spear broke through the air, and a shocking spear radiance pierced through the void, stabbing towards the 5-level mountain river world. Bang! 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 The world of 5 mountains and rivers exploded one after another. In an instant, the world of 5 mountains and rivers completely collapsed. A terrifying power surged towards Mingsheng. Mingsheng screamed and flew out. His body almost exploded. He was covered in wounds. His face was pale, and he spat out blood. He had barely managed to use the 5th level of the mountain river world, and he was already injured. Now he was swept by the aftermath of Lu Ming's destruction of the 5th level mountain river world. His injuries were even more serious, and he was extremely dispirited. Lu Ming's arm was covered in wounds and blood was flowing out. The long spear in Lu Ming's hand disappeared. He circulated the life law, and the wound on his arm healed quickly. It's much better than before. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. When he was at the Gu family, he had fused the laws of chaos and the laws of death to form a magical power technique. The more power he unleashed, the more serious his injuries would be. But now it was much lighter. This was because his usage of the laws in the ancient Undying City had improved a lot. It was also easier for him to control the fusion of the 2 ultimate laws. In just a few breaths, the wound on Lu Ming's arm had healed. This scene was seen by some powerful existences. Then, that's the law of life. One of the Emperor's eyes widened as his voice trembled with disbelief. Heavens, it really is the life law. This little guy has not only mastered the laws of chaos, the laws of death, and the laws of life. Some experts couldn't help but exclaim. His words stirred up 1,000 waves. The scene began to quiet, and then it was noisy. Chapter 2247. Invincible with Me. Chapter 2247. Invincible with Meth scene was in an uproar. There were shocked discussions, shouts, and exclamations. Even the Heavenly Emperor characters found it hard to remain calm, and were extremely shocked. Oh my god, an emperor-to-be can not only control many laws, but also 2 ultimate laws. Now he has mastered 3 ultimate laws, 3 ultimate maxims. How did he do that? The laws of chaos and the laws of death are the main offensive force, while the laws of life can heal the body. This is simply a perfect combination. If he can become a Saint Emperor, no one at the same level as him can be his match. Even the most amazing genius in history can't be his match. Many people shouted. They were truly shocked beyond belief. It was already shocking enough that a person could control 2 ultimate maxims. Now he could actually control 3 ultimate maxims: chaos, death, and life. It was a perfect match. Impossible. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, Heng Xinghe, and Yuan Xan all shook their heads crazily, their eyes full of disbelief. They found it hard to believe that all of this was real, and hard to accept. It doesn't matter how many laws he can control. He can't become a Saint Emperor, so his combat power is limited. They'll definitely be able to suppress him in the future. They roared in their hearts. This was the only reason they could use to comfort themselves. Otherwise, their hearts of martial arts would be unstable. Mingsheng's eyes were filled with disbelief. Do you still want to fight? Lu Ming's gaze landed on Mingsheng, his fighting spirit soaring. Lu Ming's injuries had fully healed, and his fighting spirit was at its peak. At the same time, a large pile of origin stones appeared beside him. Lu Ming cast the law of devouring, and the large pile of origin stones turned into origin qi and entered his body. The saint energy that Lu Ming had just consumed was quickly restored. What a pervert! Many people sighed. Lu Ming's combination of laws was simply invincible. He was like a war machine. Mingxing was a little dejected. He shook his head and retreated. He was already severely injured and could not be Lu Ming's match. Lan Cheng, what do you say now? Lu Ming's ability is obvious to all. The Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu turned to look at the Lan clan's Heavenly Emperor. No matter how many laws you control and how strong your battle prowess is, what's the use if you can't become a divine emperor? There's a limit to his strength, and any true emperor would be able to suppress him. Lan Cheng coldly snorted, his voice still filled with disdain. He wanted to grasp this point and not let go. If he can't become a saint emperor, everything else is useless. Therefore, it's still a waste to leave the indestructible ancient scroll on him. I need to strip it out and give it to stronger geniuses. Lan Cheng continued. Haha, what stronger heaven's favorite? These people can't even withstand a single blow. I'm invincible in a battle of the same level. Lu Ming laughed arrogantly. He was filled with confidence. TM invincible. Even in front of the celestial emperor, it was the same. Many people were shocked. They looked at the young man in front of them and sighed. This young man was extraordinary. Be it in terms of wisdom, perseverance, talent, or heart of martial arts, he was at the top. However, fate made a fool of him, and he could not become a sovereign. Once he became an emperor, he would probably shock the world. Also, at this moment, Lu Ming continued to speak. His eyes were like stars as he stared at the Lan family's celestial arch and said, You've said time and time again that one can't become a saint emperor. What makes you think that one can't? Why do you think I can't become a saint emperor? Many people were stunned by his words. Could it be that Lu Ming still thought that he could become an emperor? However, in the history of the Heaven Realm, it was not as if no one under the rank of a martial sovereign had mastered multiple nomological laws, but none of them had become a sovereign. No one was an exception. After that, many peerless powerhouses studied it and came to the conclusion that if one could master many laws below the martial sovereign realm, the path of martial Tao would be broken, and one could never become a sovereign. Ha ha ha. Lan Cheng himself was also stunned at first. Then he laughed out loud, full of ridicule, and said, Those below the martial supreme realm can control many laws, but they can't become a supreme emperor. This has been a truth since ancient times, and no one has been able to break it. You're still dreaming of becoming a supreme emperor. What a joke. Who's the laughable one? Lu Ming immediately retorted, his eyes shining. During the primordial era, the heaven realm was filled with the primordial cultivation system. At that time, did anyone think that a nomological cultivation system would appear? Later on, it was still created by someone. It was unprecedented, and it led straight to the great Tao. Just because the ancients couldn't do it doesn't mean that the later generations can't do it. It doesn't mean that no one can do it. You don't even understand this logic. What a waste of being the celestial emperor. Lu Ming's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. It was filled with boundless pride and unyielding spirit, unyielding to fate. Many people were touched. Indeed, if the ancient people couldn't do it, would the future generations be unable to do it? Lan Cheng was at a loss for words. At the same time, an ice-cold killing intent filled his heart. Lu Ming actually dared to talk back to him and embarrass him. If they were not in public, he would have killed Lu Ming with one slap. How dare you, Lu Ming, a junior, speak to the celestial Varch in such a manner? This is a great disrespect and you deserve to be punished. At this moment, a cold voice rang out, and a young man stepped out. This young man was wearing a black iron battle suit, and his entire body was filled with a sharp aura. It's him, Oyu Yabing, the strongest illusionary divine among the younger generation of the heaven realm. Oyu Yabing is about to make his move. Someone immediately recognized the young man. Disrespectful? What a joke. Some people also need to have something worthy of respect. Those who are not worthy of respect, why should they be respected? Of course, there are exceptions to those who are deliberately flattering. Lu Ming said calmly, his words crossing the line. First of all, they said that Land City was not worthy of respect. Furthermore, they also said that Oyu Yibing was just trying to curry favor with them. Impudent. I'll teach you how to behave. Yingbing was furious, and a terrifying aura burst out from his body. Boom! Yabing made his move immediately. He took a step forward, and continued to close the distance between him and Lu Ming. At the same time his palm glowed. With a wave of his hand, a small black pagoda appeared. It grew rapidly and pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This pagoda was not a monarch weapon, nor was it corporeal. It was a divine art that was condensed from laws and the power of the world. The hammer of chaos condensed in Lu Ming's hands and he swung it. Thump! A dull explosion was heard. Lu Ming's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat. He spat out a mouthful of blood. What a terrifying power! Lu Ming's eyes were a little solemn. A shocking power came from the other party's black tower. It far exceeded Lu Ming's. A 7-star illusionary emperor. Also, at least 4 of his nomological laws have reached the second realm. After matching one move, Lu Ming could only roughly estimate the other party's strength. Just this bit of strength? Let's see how many moves you can take. Let's go, Yabing said indifferently. With a wave of his hand, the giant pagoda came crashing down on Lu Ming again. At this moment, the hammer of chaos in Lu Ming's hand disappeared, and was replaced by a long spear. It was a spear that contained 8 laws. Buzz! Lu Ming swept his spear out. The long spear expanded rapidly and bombarded the giant tower. Chapter 2248. Breaking Through to the Martial Emperor Realm. Chapter 2248. Breaking Through to the Martial Emperor Realm. The infinite dragon spear that Lu Ming used contained 8 types of laws. It was his strongest attack at the moment, and its power was shocking. The long spear struck the giant tower, causing it to shake continuously before it was sent flying. However, Lu Ming himself was also sent flying. His hands were covered in wounds, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Lu Ming circulated the life law, and his injuries were healing rapidly. After being continuously blocked by Lu Ming, Yabing revealed a look of displeasure, and let out a cold snort. He was known as the strongest Void Emperor among the younger generation of the Heaven Realm. Even many Void Emperors who had lived for a long time were not his match. Again, the light on Yabing's palm grew even brighter. Following that, another weapon appeared. This was a flower vase, not a physical entity, but also condensed from the laws and the power of the world. Kill, die! Yabing shouted. The giant pagoda once again came crashing down on Lu Ming. At the same time, the mouth of the vase emitted a brilliant glow. Then, streams of sword chi burst out from the mouth of the vase. The boundless sword chi was incomparably sharp. It cut through the space and slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the spear in his hand. The law of chaos and the law of death kept colliding with each other in the spear, triggering a terrifying power. Boom! The long spear swept out once again, and blocked the attack of the giant pagoda. However, the sword chi followed, and slashed over with great power. Although Lu Ming tried to block it with his long spear, he could not block it at all. Boom! 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 The spear in Lu Ming's hand shattered with a series of explosive sounds. He retreated at top speed, but he was still swept by the sword light. His body was almost torn apart, and sword wounds appeared. The destructive force continued to drill into Lu Ming's body, destroying his physical body. Even though he had circulated the life law, Lu Ming's injuries could only recover slowly. 5 types of second realm laws. One of the strongest laws is the law of nothingness, and there are 4 types of king path laws. At this moment, Lu Ming finally had a clear look at Yabing's ability. Yabing had actually comprehended 5 types of nomological laws, and all of them had reached the second realm. Coupled with his cultivation as a 7-star illusionary emperor, his combat strength was terrifying. Lu Ming's combat strength is ultimately limited. Someone shook his head. Haha, he's finally going to be defeated. If he doesn't become a saint emperor, he's still a waste. Lan Yun, Yin Shi and the others laughed. This is your limit. If you don't become a monarch, you're just an ant that can't withstand a single blow. I, on the other hand, can break through at any time and become a true monarch. At that time, I can kill you with a single thought. Lu Ming, just accept your fate. The indestructible ancient scroll isn't something you can control. Audiobook spoke coldly. He was filled with an air of superiority. Become emperor, isn't it just become emperor? Then 111 become a divine emperor. Lu Ming opened his mouth and his last words turned into a long howl. Boom! A shocking aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. The life law circulated rapidly, and the injuries on his body recovered rapidly. At the same time, Lu Ming controlled the 9 types of laws, and they entered his saint heart. The 9 types of laws were arranged in a circle. An ultimate law separated by 2 king path laws. Then another ultimate law, then 2 king path laws. The 9 types of nomological laws were separated from each other and reached a balance. They burst forth with boundless radiance and began to evolve the world core. That's right. Lu Ming was about to break through to the martial emperor realm. Lu Ming had wanted to find a place to consolidate his cultivation before breaking through to the martial emperor realm. In that case, he would be more confident. However, Lu Ming understood that he had no choice but to break through to the divine emperor realm in advance. Once he broke through to the sovereign realm, he would be an unparalleled heaven's favorite with unparalleled potential. Let's see how Lan Cheng and the others would deal with him. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's body emitted an unparalleled dazzling radiance. A terrifying force burst forth and blasted Yes weapon away. Breakthrough, he wants to break through. Someone shouted. He's courting death. He's trying to break through to the martial emperor realm. He'll end up like the ancient people. His saint heart will be shattered and his body will be torn apart. He's overestimating himself. Does he really think he can create a miracle? Lan Cheng and the others spoke one after another, their voices filled with disdain. Audiobook stopped in the distance and did not continue to attack. Now Lu Ming was trying his best to break through to the next realm. The power of law surged, and the power he exerted was very shocking. He could not get close to him at all. Lu Ming, Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu, and the other heavenly emperors from the primordial realm all looked worried. They all thought that Lu Ming was forced to break through to the martial supreme realm in such an environment in order to fight for a chance of survival. However, they did not know that Lu Ming was confident. He did not attempt to break through without any confidence. Lu Ming, you must succeed. Mulong clenched her fists tightly. Although she knew that Lu Ming had obtained the method that Gu Lingtian had left behind, she was still very nervous. In addition, the Gu family was the same. After all, no one had ever tried Gu Lingtian's method, so no one knew if it would succeed. Lu Ming will definitely succeed. Dandan's eyes were bright as she stared at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming had undoubtedly become the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes were on him. Although many people who had no grudges with Lu Ming felt that the chances of him succeeding were very low, they still held on to a glimmer of hope, and hoped that Lu Ming would succeed. He was already so amazing even before he became a monarch. Once he became a monarch, his future achievements would be limitless. It was definitely beneficial to the heaven realm. At that moment, Lu Ming's saint heart was undergoing a shocking change. The 9 types of laws formed a ring shape and burst forth with boundless power. The bright radiance was like a small sun. The 9 types of laws formed a wonderful balance. Their powers linked up with each other and seemed to be evolving towards the world core. This time, there was no energy leaking out to tear Lu Ming's saint heart and physical body. This was because the 9 types of nomological laws were in a balanced arrangement, and their powers offset each other. If Lu Ming had only mastered 2 ultimate maxims, one of which was the king path, the balance would not be formed. The power would burst out and tear Lu Ming's saint heart and physical body apart. Buzz! The 9 types of laws trembled, as if they were about to merge into one. At this moment, thin threads that were thousands of times thinner than hair spread out from here and extended to various parts of the saint heart. These were law threads. They were extremely thin and invisible to the naked eye, but they were indeed the foundation of a world. The law threads spread to the entire saint heart. Every inch of it was covered by the law threads. Boom, boom, boom. When the law threads enveloped his entire saint heart began to shake and undergo earth-shaking changes. Some parts of his saint heart were collapsing, but it immediately recovered. His saint heart began to transform into a small world. With the world core as the core and the saint heart as the shell, a small world would be developed. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the wind and clouds suddenly gathered above Lu Ming's head. Endless dark clouds seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Chapter 2249, Tribulation Cloud of 100,000 Li. Chapter 2249, Tribulation Cloud of 100,000 Li. A large patch of dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky above Lu Ming's head. Selah, within the dark clouds, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Countless bolts of lightning slithered through the dark clouds like silver snakes. A powerful pressure spread out, and the entire world was instantly filled with an oppressive aura. Tribulation clouds. It's the tribulation clouds. Someone shouted. How is that possible? How could there be tribulation clouds? Could it be that Lu Ming is about to break through? Didn't you say you can't break through? Those below the rank of Marshal Supreme can control many laws, and can't break through. Why would there be tribulation clouds? People kept shouting in shock. The appearance of the tribulation cloud indicated that a great tribulation of heaven and earth was coming. This was the Emperor's tribulation. As long as one could pass the Emperor's tribulation, one would be able to step into the Martial Emperor realm. However, didn't Lu Ming, who was below the rank of a Marshal Supreme, master many types of laws, and find it difficult to become a Marshal Supreme? Everyone, including the Celestial Arch, thought that it was impossible for Lu Ming to break through. If he were to break through by force, the power triggered by the different laws would tear his saint heart and physical body apart, and he would die on the spot. Throughout history, no one had ever been able to trigger a heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation would only appear when heaven and earth sensed that a new martial sovereign was about to be born. This meant that Lu Ming had already surpassed all the ancient people, and was ahead of them. He had created a miracle. Impossible, this is impossible. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, Heng Xinghe, Yuan Xian, and the others roared madly. They could not believe what they had just seen. Not only them, but the Lan clan's Celestial Arch, the Yin clan's Celestial Arch, and the Star River's master were all in disbelief. They were flabbergasted, and their faces darkened. Ha ha good. Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu laughed heartily. On the other hand, Mulan, Gu Yingchong, Bubbles, and the others were ecstatic. I knew it, this kid can do it. Dandan whispered. Could he really create a miracle and break through to the Martial Emperor realm? The other heavenly emperors of the heaven realm spoke up, filled with anticipation. Given Lu Ming's talent, it would definitely be a miracle if he managed to break through to the Martial Supreme realm. His future achievements would be hard to estimate. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder rumbled. In the sky, more and more dark clouds gathered and became thicker and thicker. In the blink of an eye, the area covered by the tribulation clouds had exceeded 100 li. However, it did not stop and continued to expand rapidly. 200 miles, 300 miles. Very quickly it reached 1,000 miles. However, the range of the tribulation cloud did not stop. It was still rapidly expanding. 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 20,000 miles soon. The tribulation cloud's range had reached an astonishing size of tens of thousands of miles. The sky and earth had turned pitch black, completely blocking the sunlight. Even a corner of Yaoguang ancient city had been covered by the tribulation cloud. The oppressive and terrifying pressure made one's heart tremble. Retreat, quickly retreat. The four groups of people frantically retreated, not daring to be enveloped by the tribulation clouds. This was not a joke. Lu Ming's tribulation cloud had covered a radius of tens of thousands of miles. It was too terrifying. Once one was enveloped by it, one would trigger a great tribulation. This was especially true for the Martial Emperor realm warriors. Every 33,333 years, they would face another tribulation. However, if they entered someone else's tribulation cloud, their tribulation would be triggered in advance. They were not prepared for it, and it was very dangerous. Even the Celestial Arch had to back away from the area. Although the heavenly emperor no longer had a tribulation, who knew what would happen if he entered the area where others were undergoing tribulation? If he really attracted a heavenly tribulation, the consequences would be unpredictable. Everyone retreated. Many people within the ancient city of Alcate also retreated. However, it was far from over. Lu Ming's tribulation cloud was still growing. 50,000 miles, 60,000 miles. Finally, it stopped when it reached a radius of 100,000 miles. The surrounding people retreated again and again. Heavens, a heavenly tribulation within a radius of 100,000 miles. This is too terrifying. How powerful is this heavenly tribulation? The more heaven-defying a person is, the more terrifying the heavenly tribulation will be. Many people widened their mouths in shock. They knew that Lu Ming was too heaven-defying. He had not even become a sovereign, but he had already mastered 9 laws, including 3 ultimate laws. This was something that no one in history had ever been able to do. That was why his heavenly tribulation was so abnormal. Back then, Lu Ming's martial royal ordeal only had a radius of 200 miles. When an ordinary person underwent a sovereign tribulation, the range of the tribulation cloud was usually only about 1,000 miles. However, Lu Ming's tribulation cloud was indeed 100,000 miles. Such a powerful heavenly tribulation. Let's see how you survive it. Die under the heavenly tribulation. Lan Yun, Yin Shi, and the others prayed silently. Boom, boom, boom. The tribulation clouds were too terrifying. The sky and earth were covered in darkness, blocking the sunlight. In the clouds, endless silver lightning was swimming. There were also giant dragons roaring endlessly. It was very depressing. Many people couldn't help but retreat. Under the tribulation cloud, they felt that their breathing was not smooth. There was a great horror that made them go crazy. Between heaven and earth, Lu Ming was the only one standing under the vast tribulation clouds, looking up at the sky. Come on. There was no fear in Lu Ming's eyes. There was only anticipation. As long as he went through the heavenly tribulation, he would be able to break through and become an emperor. From then on, he would step into the last realm of martial Tao. This was a realm that all cultivators dreamed of. Selah. All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning struck down like a divine sword. It tore the space apart and struck Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not move. He did not block the lightning and allowed it to strike his body. This was only the first wave of the lightning punishment. If Lu Ming had to put in a lot of effort to resist this lightning punishment, then there was no need to play with the rest. The lightning struck Lu Ming and dissipated immediately. Lu Ming did not feel anything. Too weak. Let's try again. Lu Ming looked up at the sky and muttered. Selah. Boom, boom, boom. Then, bolts of lightning struck Lu Ming continuously. However, Lu Ming stood still in the void, resisting it with his physical strength. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, dark clouds rolled continuously. Thunder boomed, making people's hearts beat faster. Following that, bolts of lightning struck down from the dark clouds and struck at Lu Ming. The lightning this time was darker in color than the previous ones. The second lightning tribulation had descended. Lu Ming was still using his physical body to resist. It's not enough. It's not powerful enough. As the lightning struck, Lu Ming's body only felt a little numb. He wanted to use the lightning tribulation to temper his body, but the lightning tribulation only had a slight effect. Not long after, the second lightning punishment passed, but the third lightning punishment descended. The third lightning punishment was a purple fire lightning punishment. The lightning was covered with a layer of fire. It was several times more powerful than the second lightning tribulation. When Lu Ming was going through the martial royal ordeal, he had also experienced the third stage of the purple fire thunder tribulation. However, he was going through the sovereign ordeal now. Therefore, although it was the same kind of thunder tribulation, the power was thousands of miles apart. The lightning tribulation now could turn Lu Ming into ashes with just a strand of hair. Chapter 2250. Chapter 2250. Crossing the Emperor Tribulation. Chapter 2250. Chapter 2250. crossing the Emperor Tribulation Purple Flame Lightning Tribulation. Every bolt of lightning was covered in a layer of purple flames. Those were heavenly flames with astonishing temperatures. They could burn everything with infinite power. Boom, boom, boom. The purple fire lightning streaked across the sky and struck Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming's body was covered in wisps of lightning and a layer of flames at the same time. Chi chi chi. The lightning and flames attacked continuously, burning Lu Ming's body. I'm starting to feel it. Come on, come harder. There was a look of excitement in Lu Ming's eyes. He allowed the lightning and fire to attack his body, but he did not resist at all. His body was so strong that the third lightning punishment couldn't hurt him at all. Instead, it could help him temper his body and improve its strength. This pervert. Someone muttered. This was the third lightning tribulation. However, judging from Lu Ming's state, he was clearly very relaxed and did not even use the law. The third lightning tribulation was a life and death tribulation for ordinary people. They could be turned into ashes by the lightning tribulation at any time. However, to Lu Ming, it was just an appetizer. I wonder how many major calamities Lu Ming will face. It's hard to say. Before becoming a sovereign, he has mastered so many kinds of nomological laws. Even 3 of them are the strongest ones. Moreover, he has also undergone the sovereign tribulation. This is unprecedented in ancient times. Such a person is completely against the heavens. I'm afraid the lightning is also unusually terrifying. That's right. The tribulation clouds cover 100,000 miles. From the looks of it, there must be at least 7 major tribulations, or even higher. Heavens, 7 major tribulations, how terrifying is that? I've gained a lot of knowledge today. The surrounding people looked on in fear. As for Lu Ming, he was completely submerged in the sea of lightning, bathing in the purple heavenly fire. His body was being refined continuously. It became crystal clear and dazzling, like a holy weapon. It was stronger than before. Not long after, the purple flame lightning tribulation disappeared. He had passed the third lightning tribulation. However, the tribulation clouds were rolling, and the thunder was roaring. The aura was even more oppressive. Selah. Bolts of lightning tore through the void and struck at Lu Ming. The tribulation cloud didn't even need to be prepared. The fourth tribulation came out right after the third tribulation, not giving the person who was going through the tribulation a chance to breathe. This time, the lightning had 4 colors. There were 4 different colors of lightning, and the surface of each lightning was covered with different things. Some of them were covered in flames, some were covered in gales, some were covered in ice, and some were covered in a sharp golden aura. This lightning tribulation was several times more powerful than the pure purple flame lightning tribulation. Bolts of tribulation lightning instantly drowned Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming still did not use the law to resist. He simply used his physical body to withstand it, and used the power of the lightning tribulation to temper his body. When the lightning tribulation struck Lu Ming, his body trembled slightly as he felt a sharp pain. Good, this is the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes were bright, and there was a hint of madness in them. Fai allowed the lightning to strike him continuously. Wounds began to appear on Lu Ming's body and blood flowed out. The power of the lightning seeped into the wound and circulated throughout Lu Ming's body, trying to destroy it. However, the vitality of Lu Ming's physical body was too strong. Even without using the life law, his recovery rate was astonishing. His physical body had just been destroyed, but it was immediately restored. At the same time, it made his physical body even stronger. The 4th type of lightning tribulation was passed through in this cycle. After the 4th lightning tribulation, a goshawk, completely made of lightning, flew down from the tribulation cloud and pounced at Lu Ming. The 5th lightning tribulation, lightning manifestation. Lu Ming had experienced these lightning tribulations when he went through the martial royal ordeal in the past. He was very familiar with the process. Boom! This time, Lu Ming did not rely solely on his physical body to resist it. Instead, he circulated his holy power. The lightning tribulation was more and more terrifying. The 5th tribulation was undoubtedly more powerful. If he only relied on his physical body, he would probably be seriously injured. With his physical body and saint energy, Lu Ming threw a punch at the goshawk. Bang! The goshawk was sent flying by Lu Ming. However, there was still a trace of lightning energy that flowed through Lu Ming's fist and into his entire body. However, this little bit of lightning was harmless to Lu Ming. It could be used to temper his body and saint power. It could even surge into the Dantian saint heart to help the evolution of the world core and the small world. The heavenly tribulation was both a tribulation and an opportunity. Those who could cross it would obtain endless benefits from the heaven realm. Those who could not cross it would be a calamity and would be struck into ashes. Screeches were heard as goshawks continuously formed in the tribulation clouds and pounced at Lu Ming. Other than the goshawk, there were also giant tigers, true dragons, phoenixes, and so on. Each one was more shocking than the last, and the number was increasing. Come on! Lu Ming let out a long howl and kept punching out with both fists, fighting against the divine beasts transformed from lightning. Bang! 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 There were constant rumbles in the void. The lightning-formed divine beasts were sent flying by Lu Ming. Every time they collided with the lightning-formed divine beasts, the power of lightning would surge into Lu Ming's body and be used by him. Lu Ming felt that his physical body had become stronger, his saint energy had become more condensed, and the evolution of the world core had become faster. However, more and more godly beasts rushed out of the tribulation clouds. In the end, there were a shocking 81 godly beasts. The 80 lightning creatures surrounded Lu Ming and attacked him continuously, putting him under great pressure. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He still did not use the law to resist it. He only used his physical body and saint energy to resist it. This way, he would be able to obtain the greatest opportunity from the lightning tribulation. If he used a law to disperse the lightning tribulation, he wouldn't be able to use it to temper his body and saint power. This guy is actually using the heavenly tribulation to improve himself. This is too shocking. That's right. He's really abnormal. When other people undergo their tribulations, they just want to get through it quickly. But he's deliberately dilly-dallying. He's using the power of the lightning tribulation to temper himself. This kid is terrifying. Some powerful existences were discussing in low voices. The faces of the Lan clan's heavenly emperor, Lan Cheng, and the Yin clan's heavenly emperor became more and more gloomy. Lu Ming took the longest time to complete the 5th round of lightning tribulation. It took him a full hour. Lu Ming could feel that his physical body had improved again. It was 3 levels stronger than before. At the same time, he had condensed 3 levels of saint energy. If Lu Ming were to fight with Mingxing now, he would not need to merge the law of chaos and the law of death. He could fight against Mingxing and resist his mountain river palm. An hour later, Lu Ming felt that the effect of this lightning tribulation on his tempering was getting smaller and smaller. This lightning tribulation was useless to Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming erupted with the power of the law. Boom! Boom! The power of Lu Ming's punch suddenly increased sharply. With one punch, a giant tiger was blown to pieces. Following that, Lu Ming's every punch caused a living being condensed from lightning to explode. The 81 lightning tribulation creatures were all blown up by Lu Ming in the blink of an eye and disappeared without a trace. He had passed the 5th lightning tribulation. Chapter 2251. The terrifying 8th heavenly tribulation. Chapter 2251. The terrifying 8th heavenly tribulation. Lu Ming passed through the 5th lightning tribulation easily. Then, the 6th lightning punishment descended. The 6th lightning tribulation, lightning weapon transformation. The terrifying lightning turned into terrifying weapons and charged at Lu Ming. There were swords, sabers, spears, axes, and so on. The power of each of them was extremely terrifying. At this point, Lu Ming began to channel the law to resist. However, it was enough to channel only 2 types of law. Just like the 5th lightning tribulation, Lu Ming had to use the power of the lightning tribulation to temper his body and saint power, while he resisted it. This round of lightning tribulation also took an hour. Lu Ming's physical body and saint energy had become stronger. In the end, when the first lightning tribulation was not of much help to Lu Ming, He used a few more types of laws and destroyed all the weapons. He had also passed the 6th lightning tribulation. Wuxia passed the 6th level. Next is the 7th level. The 7th level is the World Refining Tribulation Bell. That's right. It's the World Refining Tribulation Bell. I heard that every son of God has to face the 7th lightning tribulation when he tries to break through to the martial sovereign realm. The World Refining Tribulation Bell is also the last lightning tribulation. After passing it, he can become a sovereign. Around them, some people were discussing in low voices. After the 6th lightning tribulation ended, the 7th lightning tribulation didn't descend immediately. The tribulation clouds rolled as if they were brewing. Selah. As I saw, countless bolts of lightning were swimming and gathering. Finally, they gathered into a bell. It was a huge bell of thunder tribulation. Buzz! The bell trembled and descended from the sky, shrouding Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not avoid the lightning tribulation bell. He was enveloped by the World Refinement Tribulation Bell. The bell contained a terrifying energy that enveloped Lu Ming. This was a kind of refining power that wanted to refine Lu Ming completely. The World Refining Tribulation Bell? Come on, help me improve. Lu Ming muttered and sat cross-legged. Back then, the last major tribulation of his martial royal ordeal was the World Refining Tribulation Bell. That time, he was almost killed by the World Refining Tribulation Bell. Fortunately, he made it through in the end. With the help of the World Refining Tribulation Bell, his strength increased greatly. He even refined a trace of chaos chi in his body. This time, he was going to use the World Refinement Tribulation Bell to train himself. Compared to back then, Lu Ming was even more abnormal and heaven-defying now. The World Refinement Tribulation Bell could not do anything to him at all. The destructive power in the World Refinement Tribulation Bell could only be of help to Lu Ming, helping him to temper his physical body and saint energy. It could even temper laws. Lu Ming could feel that some of his laws were becoming purer and closer to the second realm. Similarly, the World Refining Tribulation Bell could also refine the soul. There were many benefits to blocking a great tribulation of heaven and earth. Those martial sovereigns had to go through a heavenly tribulation every 300,000 years. If they could survive it, they would be able to transform and become stronger each time. Some of them could even make a breakthrough in their cultivation. The heavenly Tao was fair, and danger often brought opportunities. In the void, a huge bell was suspended in the air. Everyone looked at the huge bell and waited quietly. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Thump! Thump! A day later, the bell trembled and buzzed. In the end, it exploded and turned into energy before disappearing. Lu Ming's figure appeared in the air, his long hair flying in the wind. Could it be that Lu Ming has already transcended the heavenly tribulation and is about to become a divine emperor? This thought flashed through many people's minds, and they couldn't help but tremble. They could not imagine how powerful Lu Ming would be after he became a martial emperor. No, the tribulation clouds haven't dispersed yet. They're even more terrifying. Someone exclaimed. Yes, at this moment, the tribulation cloud was constantly rolling and rumbling, as if it was roaring angrily. A terrible pressure spread out, making some people with weak will pale and scared. Heavens, it's still not over. There's an even stronger lightning tribulation. Lu Ming is too abnormal and heaven-defying. His tribulation must be even more terrifying. It won't be an ordinary lightning tribulation. The 8th round of thunder tribulation. He has to face the 8th round of thunder tribulation. How many years has it been? Many people exclaimed. But even more people were curious about what the 8th round of thunder tribulation would be. One had to know that even the Son of Heaven only had the 7th lightning tribulation when he went through the Emperor's tribulation. The 8th round of thunder tribulation was only a legendary thunder tribulation. It would only appear when the extremely heaven-defying and terrifying geniuses appeared. The 8th lightning tribulation had rarely appeared in the history of the heaven realm. Anyone who had passed the 8th lightning punishment would have made terrifying achievements as long as they didn't die. Legend had it that invincible figures like the undying Venerable Emperor and the Chaos Venerable Emperor had gone through the 8th thunder tribulation when they were going through the Monarch tribulation. The legendary lightning tribulation had appeared again. Boom, boom, boom. The tribulation cloud, which was 100,000 miles long, rolled more and more violently. In the end, endless thunder and lightning filled the air. However, they did not strike at Lu Ming. Instead, they intertwined and formed a world. It was a world with a radius of 100 miles. The mountains, rivers, and lakes could be clearly seen. One could even see living creatures living there. There were divine beasts roaring. It was completely formed by lightning. The world was pressing down on Lu Ming. This is the beast god heavenly domain. The lightning tribulation has formed the beast god heavenly domain. A heavenly emperor suddenly exclaimed. Many people were shocked. The beast god heavenly domain was one of the 9 heavenly domains in the heaven realm. The lightning tribulation could actually condense into a heavenly domain. This was simply unbelievable. It was said that different people would encounter different situations in the 8th lightning tribulation. There were no records of such a lightning tribulation in the past. The vast beast god heavenly region, which was hundreds of miles in size, came crashing down on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes were extremely solemn. He felt a sense of danger in the face of this lightning tribulation. The hammer of chaos appeared in Lu Ming's hands. It contained 7 types of laws. Boom, boom, boom. The beast god heavenly domain was pressing down. It was terrifying. It was like a real heavenly domain pressing down. Break! Lu Ming let out a long roar. He held the hammer of chaos and soared into the sky, smashing it toward the beast god heavenly domain. Boom! The massive hammer of chaos crashed into the beast god heavenly domain. Mountains and rivers were shattered and annihilated by the hammer. Roar! Roar! In the beast god heavenly domain, countless creatures roared and rushed out to kill Lu Ming. It was like the 5th lightning punishment. The lightning punishment took form, but there were too many of them. Countless living beings pounced on Lu Ming. My God, this is too terrifying. 11 Someone swallowed his saliva and spoke in a grave tone. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl. He wielded the hammer of chaos and continuously struck. A large number of creatures were blown up, and the terrifying power kept hitting the beast god heavenly domain. Boom! 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 The tribulation clouds churned and endless lightning filled the air. They intertwined in the sky and another world was formed. It's the 9 nether heavenly domain, one of the 9 heavens domains. Another heavenly emperor exclaimed. Another heavenly domain was formed and pressed down on Lu Ming. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.